All of you are in a carriage. This carriage you were seemingly invited into by powers of which you have no idea, um, are now guiding you down the road um, by the um, eerie warmth that this horse with a fiery, literally on fire mane as it is clopping down the path, and it is not moving at a simple trot. It is rushing you somewheres, as though you were late to something you had no idea you were supposed to attend. Um, you guys are moving down the woods, and you eventually make it to. As you look out the sides of these windows, and you lose track of that castle and that smaller village off in the distance, as you really delve into these woods, you see that fog spill out from the forest, and it just swallows up the road behind you if you look backwards. Ahead, jutting from these, almost would seem impenetrable woods as this horse is navigating through, um, you see two high stone high stone statues, and they are massive, way tall into the air, and they are of two large armed guardians with pauldrons and swords standing in the center, wielded by both hands, and is now pointed into the ground. However, you see that these guardians are missing their heads, and you only notice it as when the carriage is running by, you see that this horse makes a turn left and a turn right to dodge these two large stone heads on the ground. They are indescript people. You've never seen these statues anywhere else. Maybe you've seen them as tall anywhere else, but you have never seen these ones, especially not the heads that you see laying on the ground. As you pass by this large gate that is cracked open just enough for the carriage, um, where you're moving by and you see that the dew clings with the to the rusted bars, and so sorry, um, and as you move through these, as you move through the gate, um, you make it out to towering trees, larger than the ones that you had escaped from. And now these trees, at least their tops, are lost in this heavy gray mist. They block out all but a death gray light. The tree trunks are unnaturally close to one another, and the woods are silent. When you're passing through, when you're passing through these woods, if you try to focus at least on what you could hear past the clops, or past the hooves, um, past just a bit of the wind, you almost hear screams. But if you focus in, you lose them immediately. You continue on, and can all of you roll a perception check for me? This is going to be a group perception check.
That's gonna be an 8 from Rayfield.
Dirty 22 for Chef.
4 for Irene.
A 19 for calm.
Awesome. Um, so you guys catch a scent of death in the air. It hits each respective nose at once. Whoever scored highest, and then last, Irene. Um, you smell that stench of death, and you see that it comes from off the road, but this horse does not stop. The carriage continues, and you are all now more or less awake as you, as I can only imagine, start to wonder where you're headed. Still clubbing away and headed there. Do any of you guys say anything to each other in that moment or past that moment?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Chef's gonna take note of that stink of death that they pass by, and he's going to out loud wonder to himself, is is this cottage, is it owned by someone who could help our cause, or someone who's leading us further in to the jaws of the beast, if you will?
Rayfield will, just be coming out of his sort of awakened. He wasn't fully asleep, but just enough to have this scent really bring him back into the realm of the living. And he'll just quickly, pull some of the cloth from his cloak that has managed to make its way around him and Irene and just stick it in front of his face again, as he did in the house with the scent in the kitchen. He'll look at Chef and just look out the window as he speaks. No matter where we're going, um, I don't know if we had another choice besides getting in. With how much smoke and fog and other stuff had existed outside that house, despite our circumstance, I think I prefer being in here than still being there.
Chef loosens his armor slightly around the arms, just in case they have to very quickly run out of the carriage for a fight, and says, well, let's see how that view of yours lasts.
Calm is in the corner. She's not much responding, but she is squinting out of the window. Like her pupils are cinched, like as thin as they could be, and uh, barely just open. Like she's trying, like she can't see properly, or it's just too much, like too bright somehow in this gloom. She's got her sword tucked even closer to her. It doesn't seem defensive though, and her her nose wrinkles with the stench. She turns, chat like and she turns and regards everybody else, trying to more scanning and blinking, trying to get used to what like her new eyesight. Uh, she follows Chef Q as well a little bit. Um, taking the sword instead of like against her chest and like gripping at the the gripping at the grip. uh, I think her eyes settle finally on Erine, just wondering her input.
Irene, similar to Calm, is more just kind of surveying, um, very unsettled by the stench, to which she noticed everyone else's kind of scrunching noses, and um, finally it hit her, and she sort of grimaces, and she's just looking out the window closest to her and just sort of silently pondering where they're going, and she's not really interacting with the others.
Thank you. Thank you. The dark woods fall away, revealing a misted, gloomy valley dotted with thick clouds of fog. You see rolling thunderclouds casting this still gray pall over the land below. There's no sun visible here, just this gray light. You see trees climb to the sides of the mountains that enclose this valley. To the north, there is a stony mountain with tufts of trees, and to the south, a snow-capped peak with rugged slopes and towers that stand imperiously above the land below. This muddy road continues on ahead. You pass through yellow grasses and farmland, but no farms, until it reaches a small, humble settlement hunkered down in the earth. Alongside the road, the river here flows as clear as a blue sky. Probably the biggest hint of color you've seen so far. But that leads underneath a large, looming, dark castle. It stands alone atop a pillar of sheer stone. And for an instant, you see lightning crack. And then you swear you hear birds. Yeah, maybe birds. Running for the trees all around you. Can you guys give me a perception, or can I get a I would say a survival check.
$18 from Chef.
16 from Rayfield.
A 9 from Calm.
5.
The group
Awesome.
check that God.
Let me get it one more time. I'm so sorry. You got how many? What do we got? We got
18 for Chef.
18 chef.
16 for Rayfield.
16. Okay, perfect. Maybe Chef and Rayfield are pondering amongst themselves, but you both come to a conclusion that those aren't birds. What you hear, because they sound like small screeches. Those are bats that you hear. And if you look outside the window, you see these bats are flying over this village, and it looks like for a moment that this group, this large mass of bats, is going to rain down this cauldron of bats, is going to rain down on you and your carriage.
Is there window shades, shutters, anything to pull for the windows?
There is. There absolutely is.
Rayfield's gonna point to one side, the windows, and on his side, try to pull those closed as quick as he can, and hope someone does the same on the other side.
Does as urged.
Awesome.
I believe she would be on the opposite side of Rayfield.
Awesome. And as you do, you're closing these shutters that are really just a concealment. Um, uh, uh, they don't offer a real a real retreat from any threat that wanted to get in, but you see that these bats, or you feel that these bats clash down onto the onto the carriage, and as it as they do, it's just torrential. You hear the thuds. The bats are crying out, and as they cry out, it takes over. It takes over all your senses to at least be rid of this these screeches, these sounds, um, and as they all fall down on you, as they all fall down on you, you feel the wagon, the carriage, tip down towards the front and start to scrape at the ground. And as it scrapes at the ground, you realize that you have either lost the hitch of the horse that was driving you here, or rather, that's all the conclusion you can all come to as you begin to slide and the carriage begins to topple over and slide on its side. Everyone is going to fall down. I want a dexterity saving throw from everyone inside this carriage to catch yourself before you get damaged, as it's going to slam on the side. And you guys are going to have to beat a 15.
Would I be able to, since it is now a bonus action instead of an action, maybe it'll be a little quicker. Would I be able to give my help out real quick to somebody to help them with this? Maybe to.
It's like an instant thing. If it was something else that I was
Okay.
going to have you do, if it wasn't a saving throw, you know what I mean?
Okay.
This type of
Okay.
saving throw. But I like
17
the
from
sound
Seth?
of that for the future. You beat a 17? Awesome. Yeah. I think I said we have
Yep.
to beat a 15.
19.
17 for Rayfield.
5.
Always one in the bunch. Awesome. Irene, you slam down, and this maybe the glass breaks out, or the wood splinters at just the right moment, or all the rocks that are on the ground, and you hit it immediately. I'm gonna roll this damage for you really quick. Awesome. You're going to take just two bludgeoning damage. And eventually, this all of you guys holding points of the carriage. How do you guys all save yourself from taking this damage? Like when you guys notice it's going to begin to tip.
Rayfield will, since he was already semi stood up and grabbing these curtains, he will, hook an arm around them tight as he can to sort of brace himself as he feels the carriage tipping the other way, and will pull his legs up as to not impact on the bottom.
Are there
Um,
any like trees or like some type of like solid shrubbery where this carriage landed on its side?
No, it's like in the middle of the road.
Ah, I would say anticipating the carriage going onto its side, Chef is just gonna dig his claws into like whichever wall would give him like the most support against the fall. And as the carriage is falling, kind of angle himself to like make a decently safe landing on whichever surface his feet will end up on.
just takes her sword down as a anchor. And as the carriage tips over, she just holds onto it, hangs on it as it's on its side, and then just makes a safe landing after the fact.
Awesome. As it slides down, eventually the momentum there stops. The carriage fell, and the only exit you can see is obviously above you and out of the doors opposite of the floor here in the carriage. You're on the ground. And almost as though when you first met this carriage, do the doors open up to allow you in? You see them spring open now to allow you to leave.
Yeah, Rayfield will, I suppose, be the first to climb out here. He's not super stoked about staying in this now tipped over carriage. Doors
Awesome.
pop open and he'll climb his way out.
Awesome. As you poke your head out, an arrow flies towards you. You hear a knock let loose, and you hear an arrow fly right towards you, and it pierces into the bottom of the carriage. You could tell they were trying to hit whatever was coming out of the carriage. For the moment in time that you stepped right outside, you saw that you were in front of this, I mean, at least the outskirt of a village. You've seen these wooden barricades standing right outside, these structures that have these scorch marks and gashes in them, broken wood, standing in front of what seems like an entrance to a village.
Yeah, Rayfield's gonna pull his head back in super quick, and as he starts to undo the golden clasps, sort of holding his cloak onto his shoulders, he's gonna look at the others. There are people out there. I think they aim to kill whatever is in here. That being us. I have an idea though. And as he's taking off this cloak, he will then take off the rapier at his side, holding it by the sharp end, or I guess you could say the pointy end. He will put his cloak onto the top of it, onto the top of the hilt, and hold it back up out of the top. And as he does so, just give a quick, "We surrender!"
A woman.
Chef's gonna follow this up by just heaving in air and then letting out a roar. Say, "Whoever you are, we have no quarrel with you. Please put down your weapons. We will come out peacefully."
You see a woman's. As you're holding that flag outside, and she hears a voice, and she hears the word. She says, "Declare yourselves, one by one, and exit one by one. Let me see if you be dead or alive."
One moment. Rayfield will pull the fake him back inside and replace his rapier and start to replace his cloak. Chef, I hate to ask.
Chef interrupts him and says, "Say no more." He then turns to Colm and said, "I'm going to go out first. You lead the back in case someone tries to hit us from behind, yes?"
Nods, just handling the as she's gonna come out with him, like behind him, because he's much taller. Try and try and not be seen just yet.
All right. Chef is going to take one bare arm out of the carriage and then the other and hoist himself out, and then step out, keeping his arms up, saying, "Please, I do not know what you mean by dead or alive, but Either way, we will come in peace.
Judo, do you want to have all of us go, or
So
one
I'm
by
so
one
sorry.
like
I'm
that?
so sorry. I was saying things, but I was muted. As you're stepping out, you hear people say, "It's a beast! It's a beast! Strike now! No, hold, hold!" You hear one voice, "Hold! What are you?" You don't see where this voice is calling from, but you see that as you're stepping out, you notice, and everyone will notice this as you step out. You see that there is a wide dirt trench around this settlement. It's 5 feet across and just as deep, and there are hundreds of sharp wooden stakes thrusting up like jagged teeth from the earth up. You see again this heaps of charred wood. You see that the road here continues over a makeshift little wooden bridge, and that muddy ground beyond gives way to wet cobblestone. You can see on the inside of the settlement is cobblestone. The wooden barricade stands haphazardly along the street. And the structure around them, again, they bear scorch marks and gashes. Um, you see buildings on the inside show partially collapsed roofs or walls. And the tall shapes of the village dwellings stand above, looming out in the dense fog that clings to the earth. You see just figures on top of this, on top of this wall, pointing down at you. They're pointing crossbows at you. Some have long bows. Some just have a sword, and some have a torch. And you see that they're all anticipating. You see, just a half dozen or so of them. Um, all of them look haunted, as though they had been up for nights. You see, and you hear different knocks of hammers, almost as though someone's making repairs as they're kind of holding you hostage in a sense. Um, but you step out and they say, you hear a voice say, "What are you?"
Chef yells, I am no beast. My name is Chef. I am what I do. And as he says this, he pulls out a frying pan from his pack and says, We come not to harm you, my friends. Please, please, put down your weapons. I see that you were attacked recently, judging by the repairs, no? I promise you, we will not give you any trouble like that.
If your name is Chef, does that mean you're only good at cooking? Or can you fight?
Chef flexes his muscles and says, Oh, yes, yes, my friend. I have had many a chance in this land to prove that I am very well versed in the art of battle. But please, let me not demonstrate that here, yes?
You see a separation in the middle of these barracks, or like of this barricade, almost like someone moving the wood along. And you see a tall, broad-shouldered man with shoulder-length blonde hair and a little chiseled jaw, um, as he says, "Lay down your arms." You see he has an old longsword buckled to his hip and a set of split armor over this collared cloak. As he calls this and you see them draw down their arms, you also see a raven with these blue-tipped wings perch on top one of the roofs nearby, almost looking at your interaction with Ismark. And you see he says, "My name's Ismark, but it's not what I do. It's just who I am. Sorry for the scare. You seem to be not from this land." And you see that he doesn't have any weapons in his hand. And he says, "Is there anybody in there hurt?"
Chef smiles and says, Well met, my friend. Yes, our cleric took a bit of a tumble when our carriage was knocked on its side. But rest assured, we are okay.
Okay. Well, let me help you out. We need to close this barricade soon. Uh, Perhaps I can help with your comrades. And you see him walk towards the carriage, and he says again, "Ismark, good to meet you, chef." And he puts out his hand to give you a handshake.
Chef, having bear paws, so he's not exactly well versed in handshakes, but instead takes both paws and shakes the hand heartily, saying, "Yes, thank you, Bismarck, for your warm welcome. Please, let me help you out in any way I can."
Awesome. And he'll say you'll just see him like climb the carriage to get on top of it, and you'll anybody else inside will see him peeking over, and he says
I do want to say that I'm pretty sure Calm is literally right behind Chef.
oh, like jumped out with, sorry. Um, can I just say something? They would have told you, they would have shot an arrow and not allowed you to leave, because they would have said one at a time. I'm sorry if I misinterpreted that.
Got it.
And so he would peek inside, and he would say, "Do any of you need help?" And he'll just put a hand out. "My name's Ismark."
Yeah, Rayfield. So is the carriage is tipped over, so he climbed up on top of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is sort
Mm-hmm.
of looking down at us.
Yeah.
Gotcha. In that case, if Irene is still tumbled, still laying at the moment, Rayfield is going to be sort of just cradling her a bit and looking up at him. And as much as he can, knowing him, he probably wouldn't be able to fully lift her, but just sort of showing him to Ismark. Please, um, Irene here, she's hurt. Would you be able to lift her?
Uh, Absolutely. And if he would go in, he would see these. He would see these eyes. I think from Calm. And he would see these eyes, and he would step back for a moment and look back until his eyes focused in on this dark area of this carriage, um, and say, um, "Perhaps we can clear you out to make some room." And he'll lead out his hand for Calm.
Calm is stat, so when she rises up, she's already like halfway up the carriage, and she does not take the hand. She just hops like she can climb, so she
Yeah,
climbs up
like
and just
effortless.
out. Yeah.
Wonderful. And you climb out, and he says, "Okay, I'm gonna come down there for a moment. Is Irene like just on the ground? Like, can she not get up?"
Uh, she's currently being cradled by Rayfield, and she sees Calm leave the carriage, and she immediately kind of becomes a bit more uneasy, and she's currently just like looking up at Calm, and she kind of like shuffles to her feet as best as she can, and she doesn't really like want assistance, but she reaches up for Calm.
Um, that offers her paw instead of Ismark.
Oh, and
And
he'll
Irene will take her paw and lift herself out.
Yeah, she's a lot stronger than Rayfood, man.
awesome. And he'll just leave his hand out and say, "Come on, lad, let's get you out."
Rayfield, the princess that he is, will absolutely take Mr. Ismark's hand here and
Awesome.
will let him do 80%, if not more, of the work to get him out of the carriage.
Yeah, you'll see he takes it, and you see that there is a great strength
Isfield,
with him
sorry.
as he pulls you up. So 80 would have been easy. and he pulls you out, and he says, "Your friends here to this village, at least with me in my company. Uh, sorry for the scare. We saw a carriage barreling towards us." And then you see him like leave out a moment. You see he leaves out a moment of maybe his trail of thought, and then he says, and then right after it barreled towards us, and we thought maybe, I don't know, we had more enemies. And he just jumps off the carriage, and he says, "My name's Ismark again. I didn't get to meet you all, given the circumstance." And he just says, "But now that I don't have to help you up, perhaps just a handshake." And he'll put his hand out.
Who's he putting his hand out to first?
I think Rayfield letting him out, or Rayfield allowing him to help. He would have extended it to Rayfield.
Yeah, so at that point, Rayfield will, as he hops down, Rayfield will still be, sitting on the top of the turned over carriage, sort of waiting to hop down. And once again, he'll not take the hand in a handshake, but sort of as one would to be helped down from a bit of a height. And as he just steps down into the dirt, he'll pat himself off and just get himself a little bit more presentable. Baronet Dorian Rayfield, sir, in service to Baron Stratton Kellis. Perhaps you've heard the name.
No. In fact, I have not even heard of a baronet. Is are you like an assistant too? Perhaps?
He is not used to people, not just already laying down the sirs and yes sirs and no sirs to him as soon as he says the word baronet. So hearing what is baronet is throwing him off a little bit. He'll pause for a second and he'll just be like, yes, sort of like an assistant, a little bit more than an assistant, I would say. More like perhaps an heir, if you would.
Oh, a son.
Ah,
Then well met. I guess I
yes.
am the baronet of this village. And he'll just say apologies for not knowing my manners, but be honest, I told you it's not my strong suit.
No, of course, sir. Thank you again for receiving us. It has been a long day and a long night for all of us. We have injured and we have not had a sleep in what would probably amount to a day's time at this point. I would much rather be inside and behind all of your lovely spikes than sitting by this carriage, if we might. And perhaps in there we can talk more. Food, drink, perhaps wine.
He says, well, you'll definitely get sleep. I can tell you that. But perhaps we should talk about how safe it might be behind these walls once we get in them. And so he'll move on from you to the next and introduce himself to Irene. And say, Ismark.
Seeing that now that they're out of the carriage and Irene is able to see Rayfield's friendly exchange with Ismark, she feels a lot more at ease to be more pleasant and forthcoming. So she will take his hand and shake it, and she will say, Irene Spellweaver, pleased to meet you.
Oh, well met. And then he'll move on to Calm and reach out his hand last bit, and he'll say, Ismark.
In a bout of uncharacteristic, I would say manners. She reaches out, hand over her heart on one, shakes his hand, and bows her head a little bit, calm, and just says her name,
Awesome.
and then
And
drops his hands.
awesome. And he will say, okay, well, I would be remiss not to mention that some people here may have not seen creatures, and I mean no harm when I say that. Rather, different people. As he looks at both Calm and Chef, and he says, "But we need strong allies, and you look formidable. As well do you two." And he looks over at Rayfield and Irene when he says that, and he says, "So let's get us back to some health. If you could follow me, I could take you to our tavern. Perhaps get some food, some water in your system. Yeah, in fact, I'm running late to meet another one of you that had arrived. So let's all go together, and I can catch you up to speed." And so he will...
Chef not. Oop.
Go ahead, please.
Chef not immediately picking up on the racist connotations says, "Ah, yes. Well, then, I hope I'm giving a good first impression. And if not, I can change that very quickly," as he points to his cook's utensils.
He says, "Certainly."
Being oh so used to it at this point. She kind of disregards the words even. She's just, I'm used to it. Before turning.
And Rayfield will say really quickly as they start to walk off, apologies, did you say more of us?
Yes, perhaps one of your band members. He goes, a woman. She made it here last night. Was able just to rest, but should be up now.
A woman? I'm afraid I'm not familiar with who that could be. I'm afraid
Really?
most of us are
I could have pegged you for her brother.
My sister. I don't have any. At least, not that I know of. It's been. I would love to meet her, sir.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just uncommon, you know. Those with red hair. And,
yes, I'm quite used to the discernment that gives me.
And he'll walk you down, and as he's walking past these guards, he said, "See if you guys can strip down anything from the carriage and add it to our defenses." He goes, "The spokes and the wheels, if we can melt them down and make more weapons, anything." And you'll see a group of these people go out and with just some tools and all. Again, these people look like they have bags under their eyes, but they are working. And you'll move through these. Streets. And you're moving through this like wet cobblestone floor, or rather, pavement. And there are houses here that, of course, they look a little bit disheveled. Some of them looked like they had been just worn down by time. Others worn down by an attack of some sort. But in all manners, none of this looks right. This man in front of you seems, unfortunately, a bit too calm for the state that this village is in. And all of you, give an insight check as you're moving with him. And you're seeing him speak to certain people as he's moving along through the town, telling them to do certain things, or, telling children to get out of the road.
It's going to be an 18 for Rayfield.
14 for Chef.
18 Rayfield, 14 Chef, Irene and Calm.
19 for Irene.
Awesome. You all see him speak to these others, but you definitely hear a tone of fear, then taken over by a tone of attempting to fight that fear. Almost as though he's trying to trick himself into being confident. And he it leads you ahead. Hopefully you guys can refresh your owlbear if it hasn't already, and you guys can see the streets of the village of Barovia. Little castle in the back.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, there it goes.
Awesome. You see, there's haggard villagers with these haunted eyes that watch you as you pass. Their clothes are stained dark with mud or even blood in some cases. Their hands are never far from a bow, an axe, or even a pitchfork. Ismark greets them by name, one by one. Some approach him and they'll speak quietly in hushed tones and then flee once more, some looking at Calm, some looking at Chef, others at Rayfield. You see him wave some people off. To others, he pats on the back before saying good work or spend time with family. And Ismark will then guide you through a second larger barricade manned by grim-faced villagers that wield clubs and spears. Beyond it stands an old chipped statue, stone statue. Standing at the center of the small town square, depicts a man wearing leather armor and holding a sword. More than a dozen makeshift tents and campfires have been set up around it, hosting these young and old, sickly-looking villagers. As you all walk by this statue, you see that written into it is Ismark Antonovich the Great, Burgomaster of Barovia, Bane of Vampires. And you see that right there's written into the stone. Continue moving, and you see that he is taking you all to a tavern. The sign here written states Blood of the Vine Tavern. The only escape you get from looking at these dreary people and these dreary homes and shops is a raven that has been following you since you entered in, flying ahead and studying you all until it moves to the next and to the next, and eventually sits on top of the last, sits on top of the title of the tavern, Blood of the Vine. You walk in, he says, here, we'll get some drinks. We'll get some food in you all. And I'm sure you have 1,000 questions. And he'll open the door and hold it open for you all to get in. And you all enter into the tavern. You see, as you enter this tavern, the tavern itself it is not full of people. There is maybe one shadowed man in the corner drinking away, a single bartender standing there, and sitting maybe next to or at a table that is somewhere near the open. You see another red-haired woman. Erica, what does Oksana look like?
So you do see a young woman sitting quietly at the table. She has pale skin and a ruddy blush, with a halo of red curly hair pulled over her shoulders. She's dressed in a beautiful red brocade blouse and long skirts, and she has golden jewelry fitted tightly around her neck and hand. Her finery seems acutely out of place amongst the drab Barovians in town, though she wears it with a practiced ease. She sits primly with hands folded in her lap, a soft smile on her full lips, but her blue eyes are downcast, only flicking up to glance at those entering in the tavern, as if waiting for someone to arrive. And when her eyes fall on Ismark, she stands and curtsies to him as he enters the tavern.
And as he follows you all in, he says, "All of you, please have a seat. This is Oksana. Oksana, these are new friends. I found them similarly where you came in from."
Oh, welcome everyone. I'm happy to see you safe. We've all been very lucky to be welcomed by Lord Ismark into the village.
And he says, "Please, Ismark is fine. Not much for titles. The Baronet knows that, and he'll point at Rayfield, and he'll say, 'I'm going to grab some drinks.' And he'll take off over to the bartender to leave you all to your introductions."
Yeah, since Ismark sort of gestured to him, I suppose he will be the first to step up, and seeing the more refined look of Oksana, he will assume her of a certain type and sort of hold out his hand for her to place hers in his and give a lower bow with one leg sort of just twisting right behind the other. Part of his cape, pulled with the other hand. My lady, Dorian
Oh,
Rayfield.
a pleasure, my lord. I'm very pleased to meet you. And she'll take his hand and return the curtsy. But she curtsies more in a more deferential way, I would say. She doesn't passively take his introduction.
Please, I'm not so much a lord. I'm in service to a baron. Baron Kellis? Perhaps you've heard the name?
Oh,
Every time this motherfucker mentions the Baron, Calm is rolling her eyes in such a way I'm pretty sure she could slice an enemy into.
I love it when
Oksana
I
will
love when
probably
I love,
clock that. Everyone behind Rayfield like, ugh.
Oh, this.
I love when
Oh,
Logan
I
said it, and it stuck in my head when he said, "I think Calm's eye roll could level a mountain." What would you say? Level like could
Yeah,
level a
that Calm's
mountain.
eye roll could level a mountain.
yeah.
This will not be the last time he pulls the "perhaps you've heard of him" line.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I'm rather sheltered. I haven't met many of the neighboring barons and lordships, but still very pleased to meet you.
Please, the pleasure is all mine. Um, where did you say you were from, miss?
Oh, um, I was with the Novikov family. I don't know if a humble estate, I'm sure, compared to yours, but a very kind and established family.
Apologies, I do not believe I've heard the name, and as it happens, such a thing is quite rare for me. I make a note to learn the names of all the nearby people. Um, what is it you are known for, if I might ask?
Oh, they, it's an older family, so they were well established and more, I would say, enjoying the fruits of their ancestors. Just, parties and events and salons and whatnot. But
Rayfield
I,
will
I apologize. You must have, I'm sure you would have heard of them if they had been more influential near you.
Rayfield will nod along as she speaks. He's very familiar with those of a certain caste that really didn't their position in any such way. They're very much born into it, and instead of trying to improve upon their name in any such way, they sort of just coast on as many generations as possible. So he will nod along with that and give a small smile, still holding her hand within his. And then after a moment, he will drop it and fully stand back up. Please allow me to introduce you to my friends here. He will first gesture a hand towards Irene. This is Miss Irene Valen. He will point to Chef. This is Chef, and then to Calm. And this is Miss Calm Before Storm, one of my oldest friends.
She will curtsy the same as she did to him. I'm very pleased to meet you. I'm welcome to the village.
Chef will just ever so slightly nudge Rayfield out of the way, as he is more than capable of introducing himself.
Yeah, it's not gonna feel so
says-
slight to Rayfield. He's just gonna get knocked.
When he does, catches Rayfield, but not in like a very like a nice way though. But she takes a grip at his shoulder and like digs her nails into it, and like whispers into his ear, "Do not say my full name."
Ah, yeah, of course. Please.
And Chef,
then-
after that, go ahead.
And then that's when she lets go. She like he kind of flicks him away like a piece of dust.
And he will just, take a wobbly 3-step before standing back up and standing behind everyone now, dusting himself off.
After that, Chef will smile and say, despite his refinement, he is more or less our jester, except for the times when he's not. He has a goodness of character within him, though, I will vouch. And I assume that you have not seen one of my, shall we say, stature? Much like the village people here. I am from the northern mountains, where there is much ice, beasts of sharp tooth and fang, and a warm people such as myself. I was known for making great drinks and even greater food. My name, as you have heard, is Chef. As he says that, he lends out a paw for her to shake.
She's still smiling and she looks very relaxed as she takes his hand, but I think Chef would see a little bit of fear in her eyes. You are correct, but your homeland sounds very beautiful. I look forward to hopefully hearing about it more from you.
Chef says, but of course. And not without, shall we say, Chef's special, if you understand me, as he motions towards his utensils. Nothing but the best for new friends, yes?
You're very, very kind. Thank you.
I'm sorry, did Irene already introduce herself, or did I have it? Did I miss that?
Sorry. Nope. Out of character. I was just waiting for if Calm wanted to go first.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Irene
Yeah,
will. Yeah, no problem. Irene will smile warmly, and she will nod her head to Oksana, and she'll say, "Well met. My name is Irene."
A pleasure to meet you, my lady. And she'll smile and curtsy to her as well.
And do you think
But
Calm would introduce
Yes.
herself anyways? Awesome.
he would. Once she doesn't, she makes an effort not to push past everybody because they're not Rayfield.
Chef will kindly step to the side for Calm to establish herself amongst Oksana.
She takes much the same manner as she did with Ismark, extending her hand for Oksana in hopes of shaking it, hand over her heart and bowing her head, calm. And That is the only introduction she gives as she steps back.
Oksana will shake her hand before she goes. Thank you. Lovely to meet you, Calm.
Wonderful. So Ismark will be back at the table. He's holding a tray full of drinks, and centered at all of it is some bread. And he will bring it down at the table, and he says, "I'm glad you've all met." He goes like, and he says, "So we're really not brother and sister, are you?" And he'll just chuckle at himself, almost like he was just giving a small joke.
Rayfield will just take another look towards Erica before turning to look at Ismark and just shaking his head. As I said, I haven't seen my father in a great many years, but I don't imagine anyone take that man after my mother.
He says, "Oh, of course, sorry. Just a bit of a joke, just to help leverage the mood." And he says, "Well, I'm glad you are all okay enough, and please drink and please eat some food. Though this is what we have to spare currently. You all must have, again, as I mentioned, 1,000 questions, and I'd be glad to answer as many as I can. Please."
Judah, what drink did you say he brought again?
Yeah, I think that he would have brought beer, just ale, and only ale, no wine.
In that case, as Rayfield sees it coming, and he recognizes it for the swill that it is.
Mm-hmm.
The second that Ismark is asking or says the line about questions, he'll be like, excuse me, would it be possible to get some wine if you have any?
Yeah, you almost like see him consider your question in front of you. Like he'll look down at the ale and almost like just not even thinking like, why wouldn't you drink it? And then he'll say, "Oh, yes, I think we have some ale, or sorry, some wine. Sorry, apologies, and I should have asked you all. Is this okay, or would you like wine? I think there may be a spare bottle in the back."
With a big gulp of the glass, Chef bellows, "No, no, this is fine, fine ale. The best I could have asked for to introduce myself to a new friend. Thank you."
Wow.
Almost looks happy, looking down, like as happy as her face could possibly be.
Awesome.
She takes the sip. It's ale. That's good enough for her.
Mm-hmm.
Rayfield will, just with a single finger, push the glass towards the middle of the table.
Grabs it.
Awesome. Irene and Oksana, do they partake in this, or would your answer?
Irene
would
is
you answer
going
the wine
to-
question?
Irene is going to look very disapprovingly at Rayfield, and just kind of shake her head a bit and squint her eyes, before returning her attention back to Ismark. And she'll say, "This ale is just fine, just exactly what we need after an arduous journey. Thank you so much."
Yes, it is more than enough, Ismark. Thank you very much. And she'll sit and take a glass, but not drink from it yet.
And he'll say, "Of course. Eric, do you mind seeing if we have a bottle of And you see him trying to contemplate, and he snaps his fingers, and he almost just can't get the word out. And then Eric responds, "Grape mash or dragon crush?" And he says, "Whatever you think is best." He says, "Whatever we have, really." And he'll sit back down. And you'll see the bartender in the back go
Dragon
and grab.
Crush, please, if you have it. Rayfield doesn't know the brands, but Dragon in the name, so he'll go for that one, and just to make his voice heard, of course.
Awesome, yeah, and he'll say, "Oh, a preference, you know, Dragon Crush."
Not of the name, perchance, but if it has dragon in it, then how bad could it possibly be?
He goes, "Yeah,
Sheriff is just staring at him, just anticipating the drooly, soon to be vomiting mess that will be Rayfield the moment he takes that Dragonfield down his gullet.
It's gonna
awesome."
be like Fireball. It's so
Awesome.
fucked.
He'll sit back down and he says, "Well," and eventually Eric returns with a glass and he pours you some of the Dragon Crush, and you'll see Ismark say, "Thank you, Eric, and do me a favor. Could you please send the rest of the bottle, if we have our courier come by, and send that over to Alenka's family?" And he'll say, "Of course." And so he'll sit down, fully give you his attention. He says, "So, what, do you have any questions for us, or would you like me to ramble?"
Rayfield will take a drink of his Dragon's Crush. Actually, before he does that, he will turn to Irene if they're all sitting down now. I think at the table.
Oh my god.
Is that how it is? Are they all?
Yeah,
I think everyone's
so.
at the
Okay.
table.
Okay.
Yeah, the circular
Um,
table.
Gotcha. Then perhaps just with Irene to the side of him, before he takes a drink, he will turn to her and be like, would you like to try it?
Still going to be staring daggers at him. Very obviously displeased with what she perceived as him being quite rude to their host. And she is going to kind of just tilt her chin away and shake her head and turn her attention back to her own drink.
Rayfield is just gonna give her a bit of a quizzical look, as if he doesn't understand what just changed, because he doesn't. He has no idea why she's suddenly acting in such an uncouth manner towards him before taking a drink himself.
He'll say, Ismark will see whatever that is, and he'll look around for a second. Says, "Well, I'll ramble then, and let me know if you have a question." He says, "You've visited us at a strange time. First of all, I can tell you are not all from here, from this land. I know this because every so often, adventurers or unlucky people end up here. But no fault of their own, but they are often misguided, or they are taken from their lands here. Because I assume all of you came in with the Vistani?" And I'll look around the table.
Sheriff will perk up at this and say, "Yes, yes. I have gone from their carriages after hearing a certain story about a land draped in mist. I came here originally on business, shall we say, and then things took a turn for the unexpected, and I have met my friends all sitting at this table since then."
Mhm. And you said,
Yes, the same. I was supposed to end up at the Mercy Multiverse Cell at the hest of Baron Kellis, arriving in his stead as it was, but the mist got so dense in the fog, and the next thing we knew, we're in the middle of a nothingness as it happened.
he goes, "Okay." He goes, and he'll look over at Oksana, and he'll say, "And I'm sorry, last night you seemed so exhausted that I let you rest. as well, the Vistani too, correct? I could only imagine.
Yes, that's right. Although something must have happened and I was separated from them on the way.
I'm surprised you made it through the woods here. Must have been a tough journey.
Oh, yes. I'm very glad to have found rest here.
Mm. He'll just kind of look over at Calm and Irene, and you guys could just give a nod if you want, but he's just making sure you all came from the Vistani.
Calm is like halfway through her second ale, by the way. She nods as well. She does. That's as much as
he'll take note of that, and he'll look at his ale, and he'll kind of slide it over, because you could tell he's just not really drinking, and he'll push it over to the middle.
She's like, she offers another nod, but this one of gratitude. As she takes it, her eyes wander back to the bartender. She's like, she doesn't say anything, but it's clearly she wants something else.
Mm-hmm. And so he'll just look at Irene and see if she came with the Vistani.
Yes, we all came from we were all traveling with the Vistani.
He goes, okay. He goes, well, I'm sorry that you're here. Not to say that I don't appreciate your company, and that we won't need it, but let me tell you about the land that we were in. The land that you are essentially trapped in. This land is the land of Barovia. Not to be too confusing, but this village is also the village of Barovia. There are several other villages in this land, and all of them, in all this realm, surrounded by a deadly fog. We are ruled by Strahd von Zervik, a powerful man, and you see him shake his head, a powerful vampire who slumbered in Castle Ravenloft until recently. I'll look around
Sorry.
to see your faces.
Did you say of a vampire?
Yes. Do you have them where you hail from?
No, they're not. I'm sorry, but they're not real, sir. They're stories to scare the kids.
You see him give you a stare and he's had a general, even when meeting Chef, he's had a general open look about him, and with the people he interacts with. But you see his eyebrows almost furrow just enough to give you a serious look in your eye as you're telling him that they're not real. And as you do, and you tell him that, he says, I assure you they are real. I can promise you that they are real.
Chef tries to intercept and say, Ismark, we have heard of this Strahd before. We have had a run-in into a manor. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Durst. Well, we barely escaped with our lives from that place. And we did see a mentioning of Strahd in that manor, but I do not know of these vampires. What are they?
He goes, vampires are beasts of the night. I don't know how they all work, but I can tell you that he is a vampire, and that he is powerful. For a moment I thought you said you had a run-in with him, which I was going to tell you surely wasn't, as none of you would be alive here today if so. As for the Durst House, he goes, I haven't heard of it. In fact, I've never heard of it.
Chef says they seem to be very esteemed people in whatever it is they resided before their manor got separated in the mist. But no, we did not meet Strahd in person. But we did meet one of his servants, Elizabeth Durst. She unleashed a monster upon us, one of a bastard child that had taken form with, I presume, to be the people that got trapped in that manor before us.
Awesome. Oksana, give me a sanity check.
Yep. That's a 2.
That's a 2. Awesome. You fail. How does Oksana react to him talking about the house?
I think she has the same as before. Her eyes have been downcast as she's just listening around the table. And even then, you see her just stiffen and go even paler than before as her hands grip white-knuckled around her mug.
Awesome.
Does Chef take notice of this?
I think
if he
think
was
that's up
looking
to
at her, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's up to Oksana if you would do it outwardly. I like that.
Well, I don't know exactly where Chef is as far, and Oksana is as far as where this table is.
Mhm.
But I want to say he would take notice of this, question mark.
That's fine. Yeah, if Oksana, if you, Erica, weren't going to try to keep this hidden, then absolutely. Then I think it's fair that you could see her white knuckle the beer.
Yeah, I think on that low of a roll, she can't.
Chef will quirk an eyebrow a little, but we'll know better, and we'll save the questions for Oksana for when she's feeling a little more comfortable for them.
Awesome. Ismark will say, "Well, I'm sorry you had to run into any servant of his, anybody who served him. As of now, we are being, at least this village, is being punished. Over about 3 months ago, a man named Doru, son of our village priest here, raised a rebellion against the castle, against Strahd. He hoped to free the valley from the mist, but the revolt failed. Strahd awoke from his dormancy after 100 years of sleep. Whatever they did, spurred the vampire to vow vengeance upon us. So now, about 6 nights ago, Strahd's undead forces began attacking the town. Every night. And you almost see like the bags under his eyes kind of reveal themselves as he says that. And he says, we have been able to beat back waves of the dead. And each night the horde comes ever closer to breaching the village's defenses. That's given the spikes outside and the traps. Because Barovians here, most of them, fear that our village is doomed. The undead have infested the woods to the north, west, and south, and blocking the old Svalak road just past the Iblis River, which I'm sure you do not know where that is, but it's close by.
If I may, sir, why is it that you allow these people to stay? The village is doomed, you say, but I see children going about as if nothing is the matter.
Because some people have hope still. And I know I'm not the burgomaster and just his son, but... And you see him breathe out a little bit. He says, did you see the statue outside?
Yes, bearing your likeness, if I remember.
Well, I appreciate that, but with none of his courage. He goes, That man was my grandfather. He goes, he held off swaths of vampires for the 100 years that Strahd was asleep. He died defending a simple group of trappers, late at his age of 44. And I'm sorry, we just said it's his great-grandfather, and he says, I myself am not to blame for leading the charge to the castle, but I didn't stop it. He goes, so now I fight every night to defend what we have left. Some village people feel the same way. We're cut off from the outside villages, and outside of here, especially with Strahd's awakening, it seems as though more things are stirring in the night. He goes, so we are fighting till our last. We'll survive on our own, or we will just perish. But I can't allow us to do so without a sword in my hand, and without letting the kids, at least for the moment, play in the streets. It's not their fault. And he'll kind of look back, and you'll see a tear kind of like swell up in his eyes, and then he'll get up and kind of wipe his. He'll kind of like grab the empty ales, and he'll say, "Let me get some more." And you can tell as he's leaving, he's like wiping away the swell of the tear, and he says, "Excuse me," and he'll get up, and then you see he's gonna go grab some more ale from anybody who drank theirs.
Chef will look down at the table as he's leaving and say, there is a courage inside his eye. He has the kindness to offer new faces his hospitality despite the situation. I would not feel right to not help this man as he looks towards the rest of the party.
He seems so tired.
He'll come back and he'll put the beers down, looking almost like refreshed. And he says, "So here, please drink some more." And so, I have a favor to ask, and I've already mentioned it a couple of times, but now you know the gravity of the situation. He goes, I need your help. He goes, tonight, after you rest, or rather, after you rest today, he goes, tonight another siege will begin. He goes, I have a few people that are too injured, and it would give them some time to heal, or to repair themselves just enough for the next night, however long this will last. Our barricade on the eastern wall is a bit out of shape, so tonight I think I would need the most bodies there, for which I would ask you all to please assist. He goes, we don't have a lot. We don't have money or treasures. He goes, but I have warm beds at our manor that I'm sure my father and my sister will see to that you all feel comfortable. And just my gratitude for allowing us to, I don't know, have an ale another day. What do you all
Chef
think?
will
And then you hear a slam at another table. And sound draws your attention to that man sitting not too far away. And you see that that man has his fist clenched and it's twitching against this wooden surface. You see he is a squat man with with this pepper, like this salt and pepper hair and a patched, well-worn coat. You see a scowl across his face as he turns his dark eyes towards your group. It's a fool's errand to put your faith in Ismark the Lesser. You see he rasps, and his eyes linger on all of you. Best to seek better company, lest you wind up in the ground with the last fools that trusted him. You see, Ismark just shakes his head, like he nods his head, and he says, "He's right to hate me." And he says, "And the wine shit, and the ale shit," and he throws the ale on the ground, and the glass breaks. And he says, "But so is everything else. The last fools that trusted him, they're dead now." And Ismark then comes back to still nodding, and he says, "I was arrogant and foolish." He says, "I didn't appreciate just how powerful the devil and his creatures were. Yes, how dozens of my friends and neighbors are gone, and I'm still here." And you just see that it's almost like you have Bill Drath staring at you all over there, and Ismark's kind of like his head's kind of pointed at the table. And yeah, Bill Drath just stares at you. And he says, "If you want to know the real story, then buy me another drink, and I can give you what really happened."
Sir, and Rayfield will take a sterner tone to his voice than still trying to keep things peaceful, but he's definitely speaking more forcefully. Sir, I believe that drink on the floor should be your last for the time being.
You see Bill Drath get up and walks into the light, and you get to see him for a moment, and I'll put that in here. And you see him, and he looks at you, looks at the drink. It almost like stomps on the last bit of glass that's on the ground, and just crushes it, pulverizes it. And he says, "The village is doomed, and likely all of Barovia with it. There's no sun to bring back," and he'll spit in your direction, Rayfield. "No escape from the mist. This is hell, now and for all eternity. The sooner you accept that, the better off you'll be." And you'll see him walk out of the bar, the tavern. And he opens the door. As he opens the door, he says, "Feast upon your works, Ismark." And a woman comes barreling into the tavern. You see a woman stepping through, like stepping right past Bill Drath. And she walks in, and you almost see Ismark just turn it on as he sees this woman crying as she's barreling through this door. And you see, she looks, clad in like a tattered and threadbare cloak, and her hair's tied up into two loops that fall around her neck, and she's uncapped and tangled, and her eyes are wide and they dart across the room, and her gaze falls on Ismark, and she steps shakingly forward, and you see that her paces fail, and her eyes are blotchy, and her voice ragged, she says, Master Kolyanovich, I apologize for interrupting you and your guest, but I haven't seen Gertruda since last night, and Nori isn't in the stable. I think Gertruda's gone to the castle alone. And you see Ismark, as he looks at her, you see him lose all of what was beating him up about what Bildrath was saying about him, about that man, what he was saying about him. And you see the man you met outside, or reaching his hand out towards you, and he says, Mary, it's fine. He says, I'm sorry, but it will be okay. If she didn't make it to the castle, we'll find her and bring her home safely. It was raining last night. I'm sure the river swelled up and allowed her to turn back. Or at least she's held up in a place, and obviously she wouldn't have been bothered, given the fact that we had just dealt with the last night's wave. And you see her crying, and he's just trying to bring her back. You see Bildrath walk back in, almost like he was just finishing a cigarette. You see him holding her, and he says, More empty promises, Kolyanovich. Have you ever seen something so cruel? And he looks at all of you, and he says that.
Shep will stand up from the table, hearing enough of this, and saying, No, I witnessed nothing but a leader comforting his people, and a drunkard running his mouth. If you believe the solution is to lay down on the ground and die, so be it. Have your fun on the dirt. But I, Chef, I am more than okay with the hospitality and kindness he has shown us thus far. We desire no riches. And if you will let us, Ismark, and he looks to his party for approval, more specifically Calm, he says, we will set out to look for the stragglers of your village, if you will let us.
Before Ismark speaks, you see Bildrath. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Calm. Go ahead.
She does approve, and she stands with Chef a little bit, like places her hand on his shoulder and nodding to Ismark with confidence.
You see Bildrath look at you right before Ismark could give a chance to say anything to you, as he looks over to you. Bildrath, this man, he says, no one can survive alone on those roads. The girl's gone, Mary. I'm sorry. And you see Mary burst into tears still in Ismark's hands. And then you see him kind of, Ismark, like bring Mary towards one of you all and says, please, just hold her for a moment.
Oksana will stand and wrap her arms around the woman's shoulder, just taking her to sit and offering her untouched ale.
Out of character? Thank you. There was exactly one other person that was going to do it.
Rayfield might have, and he would cop a feel while he did it.
No, what is wrong with you?
Right. You see Ismark then pushes a seat away from the table around him. He says, that's enough, Master Cantemir. And you hear Bildrath say, Mr. Cantemir say, you're going to put me in my place, Master Kolyanovich? Stop lying to the woman. The girl's as good as dead. We'll all be joining her soon enough. Ismark replies, there's always a chance. And you see he swallows and looks back at Mary, and then he looks at you all, and then he says, you might have given up on our people, as his eyes turn to Bildrath, and he says, but I haven't. You see his you see his hands curl up into fist. Bildrath's curl up into fist, and after a long, lingering moment, he spits again. And this time he spits on Ismark's shoe. And then he turns and exits the tavern without addressing any of you. And you just hear that the tap room just is now quiet. And the silence is only ever broken with Mary's choking sobs. And Mary cries, and he says, he turns around and he sees the spit on his shoe, and he just doesn't care about it. He looks at it, and then he looks back at you all, and he says, I'm sorry you had to see that.
As Mary gets escorted to this table by Oksana, Rayfield will stand up and just unclasp one side of the cloak that he's wearing and put it around her shoulders as she sits.
And you see that she's just mumbling to herself. And Ismark will then come over to Mary and say, I promise you. And his voice breaks. I will do everything I can to see that Gertruda is brought home safely. And Mary eventually calms, like she at least is able to hold in the chokes. And she wipes her eyes and says, thank you. And then she'll get up and easily she'll depart the tavern. And as she leaves, he holds the door open, kind of guiding her out. And the door, you see down like this long stretch of this street. And you just see the streets of Barovia, or the village of Barovia behind you, or behind him. And he says, like it or not, we're all in this together. And he says, for some of you, I can tell that you would be happy to help. But the more hands, the better. Like I said, there will be no coin, but it may help us survive the night, yourselves included.
Chef will look towards him and say, your village is the first true respite that we'd found since we've entered this land. We need none of your coins, sir. Please, let us help you.
He'll nod his head and say thank you.
Hadn't met Gertruda, but last night I did see a young woman fleeing the village. She had blonde hair. She was just running on foot. She must have avoided the guards, but if that would be helpful.
Did she? And could you point to which exit that was, or which gate that was at?
I will join him at the door and do so.
Awesome. And he'll say, okay, awesome. And he'll say, well, great. I have my horse and I can go ride out and at least see if I can pick up some trail. Was she on a horse?
Not when I'd seen her, but I couldn't say if she found one along her way.
Okay. Well, thank you, Oksana. For now, all of you. I have a sister, Irina, and currently she's overseeing the defense over by the southern perimeter. It's the mansion, Sar Manor. She's overseeing a crate of fire bottles. Perhaps I could ask that you head that way while I hop on my horse and see if I can't find some route that Gertruda possibly has left. Because we'll need those fire bottles, and I'll be visiting the western barricades just before I come back from my trip, seeing where Gertruda is. He says, once you retrieve those crates of fire bottles, um, please just, uh, uh, please just keep him nearby and get some rest at the manor. Tonight, when dusk falls, rather, um, then that's when you'll head to the eastern barricade. Take the fire bottles with you. You'll be stationed there throughout the night.
Chef
And
will nod at this and say, "Of course, we will see you soon. I wish you nothing but luck in your search. And thank you again for your hospitality, Ismark. I know it has not been easy, but we will be gladly of your service."
thank you.
Erinay will step up next to Chef and she'll nod in agreement and she'll say, "We're very much in your gratitude and we're happy to help with whatever you need. Are you sure that you'll be okay going to check for her on your own?"
He'll say, yes. He goes, despite how I look, there's a lot of fight left in me. He goes, and I only have one horse. And he'll give a small smile and he'll say, Irina will definitely need help. And he'll say, best turn your efforts over there and to get some rest. Truly, you will need it tonight. And he will then exit the tavern. He'll point, obviously, maybe to Oksana if she was over by the door, and he'll point over where, or rather, Oksana knows where it is, and so he will then take off and see him eventually get onto a horse and then ride out of town. You guys are all left here in the tavern, but of course you guys know where you would probably need to go. There is no map. There's a lot of theater of the mind right now. But what would you all do? You guys are here alone, and there's only Eric at the counter, the bartender. It just seems like he's always cleaning a glass.
Oksana will start to tidy their table, as well as collecting what she can of Bill Draft's mess. Just preparing before they can leave, so they don't leave a horrible mess for Eric.
Chef will also assist in this.
Polishes off the fourth ale. She's not so rude to as leave her things there and grabs up her glasses and it helps along with the cleanup. When she does make it to Eric though, she does pause it. She does ask for one last thing. Do you have any peanuts?
Eric's cleaning the glass. He goes, looking around. He just shakes his head, and he says, "Yeah, I do." And he'll go grab some peanuts and throw a small little bag on the table. There you go. He goes, "On the house. No one eats them anyways."
Is very thankful with this. Already grabbing a palmful to, I guess, wash down the ale, which kind of the reverse. But she does turn her attention turn her head to Rayfield. He's been a little.
Oh god, out of character.
Oh. I was like, what? He's been a little more resistant than everybody. She's noticed. So she walks over and she this time gently places her hand on his shoulder.
As her hand raises up, he is gonna flinch a little bit.
And she leans down, not to whisper or anything, but just to, 6'10" to like the 3 foot he is right now sitting down. Um, she inquires, Field, are you okay?
Calm. What are we doing? These people, I don't wish to. And he is going to be speaking in a very low voice as he says this, so that only she can hear it. I wish these people no harm. I wish the best for them. I truly do, and I appreciate the Lord's hospitality, but what are we to do to save the whole village? How many nights are we to stay here fighting off the undead? Vampires? This is all now real? These were stories that they told us in Marin's turn to get us to sleep at night, to not go out past the woods. What are we doing?
Chef will come up behind Rayfield and say, "We will stay for as long as we have to, my friend. Give yourself some more credit, would you? I saw you."
Sorry, he was whispering that, Modal.
Ah.
Yep. I think he wasn't done. As in, Rayfield wasn't done, right? Or was he?
Yeah, Rayfield's done.
And she actually, Chef does actually preempt her on this, like with that little interaction. Like, we have to stay as long as we can. We need the rest, and they need our help.
Yes,
We'll move on when we can, but for now, isn't it better to ensure our safety as well as the village's safety as long as possible?
Rayfield is going to just lean back in his chair for a moment, just slumping down, pushing some of the hair back, just trying to take in the whole situation, just to give himself a second to really let it sink in what he's about to agree to here. And after a moment, he will nod, just saying fully voiced this time. Yes. Yes. I see your point. A night, a few nights, but something must be done.
And we'll be the ones to do it.
We? He'll look at her in the eyes.
We.
He'll be feeling a little better off of that interaction, especially because she's not being mean to him a little bit for once in his entire life.
That was an out of character giggle, Judo.
Thank you.
He'll be emboldened a little bit by her. I don't know if I would say he's feeling better, but he's feeling more sure about the situation. So he will stand up and lay a hand on her as well, as a sort of a thank you for the pep talk. She obviously saw that he was needing it, and she gave it, and he's feeling better because of it.
And then she just gives him a little pat on the back, and then motions to join everybody else. She's still chewing her peanuts.
Wonderful. Erica, or rather Oksana, as you're picking up the glass that's on the ground, you're met with a familiar moment. Staring into the glass on the floor, but now you see your reflection in it. And it's like you're back in the Durst house, in the nursemaid's room. As looking down into the glass, you look up and you see this altercation that caused the glass to shatter, as you see two men struggling at each other. You took so long. He goes, we need to find a way out of this house. The hours are moving by, and they're throwing each other around. You see that they made it through, and one crashes the other through, of course, the rest of that glass. It says, no, this may be the way. This could be the way. And you see this man stab this knife through the dude's chin into his skull, and this dagger sticks right out the bottom of this man's head. And then he says, you're wasting our time. And he pulls it out. The man falls to the ground, and he looks over at you, Oksana, and he says, get the other. Tell them I found a way up. Perhaps we can find a way down to the basement. Go now!
I think in that moment she scrambles to her feet, falling over herself in the glass, rushing down the stairs just away from this man.
And as you do, and you rush out, and you make it to the outside. It's almost like going through the doorway. You're almost giving back your vision, and you blink again. You're back, and you're picking up the glass that's here on the floor, the beer glass.
I think with a start, she drops it, her hand shaking as she stands again. We should head out. We shouldn't keep Irina waiting. There's much work to be done.
Can you give me a sanity roll?
That's a 3.
That's a failure. Thank you.
Out of character. That's one letter better than last time. She's getting better.
Awesome.
The chef,
No, go ahead.
the chef witnessed this, or at least the ending of it.
Yeah, I mean, he was helping her clean, I guess, so.
I think so.
Chef, with a look of understanding in his eyes, just slowly goes up to Oksana and just very gently rests upon her shoulder and says, low enough for everyone else not to hear but her, I believe we have things to talk about regarding that manor. No? I won't force it out of you, but I have a feeling I've seen at least half of the things that plagues you from that place. Please, if you ever need an ear, you will always have chefs. As he picks up the glass that she dropped.
She'll just look it up at him with just wide, terrified eyes as she's trembling, blinking away tears, and will just nod at him before trying to compose herself for the others.
Awesome. And Chef, you remember as you help her up, you remember the chant, one must die, one must die. And it's almost as though when you do, you almost like relive moments in the house, and then where the chant comes from, you recognize the bodies floating in the water, the bodies that were already deceased before you arrived. And you walk with the woman who has been there a day earlier. And where do you all go?
Chef is going to think about this and then try to dispel the thought with the sound of him setting the glass down in front of the barkeep's table. And as he does, he says, I believe I did not quite catch your name. What was your name again, barkeep?
Eric.
Ah, yes, Eric. I know this is a bit presumptuous of me to ask, considering it is my first night here, but if I manage to survive the oncoming horde tonight, would you do Chef a favor please, show him the ways of your craft. I wish to become more acquainted with the brewer's tools, if you will. I believe you've seen it yourself. My friend Calm, she is quite the drinker, and I would love to aid her in whatever way I can to get through this, along with the rest of my company.
He'll say, well, I don't brew, he goes, but I do purchase. I know maybe someone you would want to get in connection with. There's a place. It's far from here. West. Very far west. I believe there's a man named the Wizard of Wines. That's where I get my shipments from. That's probably the man you're looking for.
Chef lifts an eyebrow and laughs. Ha! Well, I guess I will have to visit the wizard in his tower sometime. Please, drop him a word from me if you see him again. I'll be sure to bring my talents to his use.
Very well. And he'll clean his glass out. You think he's been cleaning the same glass forever, but there's no way, right? And so, everybody else, where are we headed? What are we doing?
Rayfield does want to. Sorry, what was his sister's name? Judo?
Irina.
Irina. Rayfield will turn to Irina and Calm and the rest of them. I think it would be wise to head straight for Irina, but if possible, and he will gesture to his now cloakless form, just showing off how sort of scant he does look without the extra bulk that the cloak gives him. I would wonder if they might have some perhaps additional protections they might be able to loan me for tonight's trouble. I don't much fancy wearing only my clothes to the fight tonight.
Chef is trailing behind the rest of the party after inquiring with Eric and saying, yes, I believe we'll need some provisions for tonight, do we not? Perhaps some potions to take along the way.
Oh, good point, Chef. I meant to... and he's already gone. I meant to ask if they might have a storage of alchemy supplies or something to top off my wares. All of my stuff was left by the carriage, the first carriage. I believe I might be able to make us some things of use if given proper supplies and, of course, time.
Chef says, I'm sure there is more than one friendly. I'm sure they'll point us in the right way. And he tries to look for the nearest friendly face, quote unquote, that might be able to help them with that, if there is any.
I wouldn't say friendly. What I would say is there is very solemn faces. There are a small group of children running around. They're playing some sort of game. And you see one sees you and he goes, whoa. And they go, you look cool. And then they continue moving on to play whatever game they're playing.
Chef's heart warms just a little bit at that.
But there are some signs around here, and one sign you see, at least you can make out the words mercantile right at the bottom of it. Just around here in the town square.
Chef points to the mercantile sign and says, perhaps there will be our start?
Oh, that chef, that the man in the tavern actually runs that shop, and he's, as you saw, not the friendliest. Irina might be able to point us if they have any supplies left over, but I would hate for him to harass you all as well.
Chef will furrow his eyebrows, but remembering what lies in store, will say, let the man say what he wants. I'm sure he'll at least try and keep a businessly sort of attitude if I present some coin, yes? Or at the very least, a stiff drink.
If
sh-
if you think it would be best, I'm sure you could convince him.
Chef, I actually quite agree with Oksana, Miss Oksana, on this matter. Um, not only is she where we were told to go, but I imagine they might have quite better supplies up in the manor versus what that man has managed to scrounge together. And he'll look at Oksana for some reassurance on that one.
The manor is very well appointed, and they've been very kind hosts. I'm sure if the supplies were needed to help the village, they would be happy to give you some.
Chef will consider this and shrug and say, all right, I'll take your word for it. But if it's all the same, I would rather have one more friend than less when it comes to these creatures of the night. So, if it's all the same to you, not today, but tomorrow, I will see if I can convince him.
Perhaps he will be more inclined to see us after we have helped defend this place that he lives and sleeps.
We agree on something here. All right. Lead the way then, Oksana, if you will.
She will do so.
Awesome. Let's take a 10-minute break. Sound cool for everybody? 10 or 15?
Yep.
Okay. Sound.
Watching, watching.
Wunderbar. All right. Perfect. Let's do a little sham. Whoops. There we go. All right. Going to snap. As you guys are moving down the way over to the manor, are you guys saying anything to each other? You guys looking at anything?
As they're walking here, Rayfield will try to either speed up or fall back enough to catch Irene in conversation. And I do want to know, Yoon, if Irene will even, give him the chance to talk right now, or if she'll try to avoid him.
She's not changing her pace either way, but she won't really like turn to look at him as he falls back a bit to meet her at her side.
Yeah. So Rayfield will just, take a few slower steps as they come in line with each other. He'll even be a little bit behind her, just enough to sort of watch her for a moment as she walks. She's not giving the friendly signs to him as she was in the manor and during the carriage ride. So he's not sure what to do, and also he's not used to being treated this way. So he's not sure what to say on the matter either. regardless, being the type of man he is, he almost feels the need. He feels a overwhelming need to say something regarding it. So he will just go and be like, um, Irene, is everything quite all right?
She'll sort of like give him a bit of side eye and um he'll be like, everything's fine. Why do you ask?
Of course, of course. I just I noticed. Um, perhaps we could talk another time. Perhaps once we've all gotten to our rooms.
Maybe.
Um, of course. Um, let us. You're right. Let us focus on the task at hand.
Irene will also turn to Calm, who I believe is walking ahead of her, and she'll kind of like pick up her pace a little bit to walk alongside her, and she'll kind of like stick her head out a bit to like and stick her head out and up to like look up at her, and she'll be like, I don't think I've seen you this happy since I met you, really.
Palm just answers, "We're not about to die."
Hmm. Yeah, that does make sense. Have you always enjoyed spirits?
Just ale. Spirits are a different thing.
Oh, apologies. I don't really know much about them. Well, in any case, it's really good to see you um so happy.
Sure.
She's almost off put by this, by the way.
Oh, good.
She,
Above
her,
table.
yeah. Um, God damn it. I have to not look at this chat now. Um, she hasn't turned her head to like properly address Irene, but she's looking with her eyes. After a moment, though, she does pay the common courtesy to. She does one of her eyebrows raise. Well, you can't really tell, like, except for the whiskers that come off of it, slightly rising. Uh, why the sudden interest?
Um, Irene takes a bit of note that maybe she's making Calm a bit uncomfortable or causing a bit of confusion for her. And she says, I'm sorry if I'm coming off a bit too strong. It's just, well, we escaped near death together, and I feel like we've hardly said a word to each other. And, uh, but I still like care about your well-being, and yeah, I just wanted to tell you that I was happy to see you being so carefree for a change, and that it's nice. But I don't mean to make you feel uncomfortable.
Uh, she kind of ponders that for a little bit. Still unsure, but she turns her face back towards their path, and nods a little bit. Okay, thank you. And then that's the end of the conversation.
Awesome. If there's nothing else, you will make it to the small. You will make it in eye shot of the manor. You're getting pretty close. You just turn the corner and you're going to be right there. Oksana, this is a little bit jarring to you, obviously, as you see there is a mob around the corner, because you ping where the manor is immediately, and you see that there is a mob built up around the front of this house. You see that there are just several Barovian commoners, though. And as you turn, as everyone else turns, you'll all see this like mass group of villagers around that manor. They're brandishing pitchforks, brooms, and axes. There's a woman standing at the front, at all of their front towards the house. And she has a little brown, her brown hair tied back with a little wrinkled white bandana. So you guys get an earshot, you hear her say, "Give her up, Kolyan," she calls out. "Your defenses have held the devil at bay, but they haven't ended his scourge. It's time to take matters into our own hands." You see an older man dressed in fine clothes, his hair just obviously thin and gray, receding across the scalp, and he leans heavily on a cane on the door. And all of you see that there are heavy blood-stained bandages wrapping around his stomach, his forehead, and his left knee. Besides him, there's a young woman with long red hair and a steel breastplate over a long-sleeved gray tunic. Her face is ashen and tense. As you see, she looks around at the several commoners, and then her father, and then the wounds. See, a rapier hangs in a sheath at her side, and her right hand just hovers over its hilt. The man says, "Go home, Alenka. The rest of you as well. For as long as I am burgomaster, I will not permit this madness." You see the several of the people here are just looking at each other, and Alenka, this woman in the front, is very mad, and she goes, "You think sacrificing to this vampire is madness? No, it is common sense. Legends say that Devil Strahd enjoys red-haired women," and people are all like shaking their head. "And if her blood might win his favor, how can we do otherwise?" "You are a fool, Alenka. And for anyone here, you already surrender. You appease the devil. You are grasping for answers in a world that has none to offer. And we are Barovians. We do not turn on our own." You see this woman have distaste at her mouth as you guys are finally there. And I will throw that up here. I'll show you guys the map. And then I'm going to put out your little pieces. Oops, you're not supposed to see that. I revealed something crazy. Oh, hell no. Someone moved one of my little guys.
That was me on accident. I'm so sorry. Mobile is not friendly.
All good. I'm gonna jump all your characters here right now. Bap. Whoops, sorry. I have the real one. Bap. Add this one. Open, import, yeah. And then, bang. There you all are. As you get here, you can feel free to move around these commoners. There's just all of these commoners here, and then you have the burgomaster, and then of course who you all see to be Irina. This woman says, "She's not even a true Barovian." And people go around, are all murmuring around, and they're all whispering to each other. He goes, "It's true. We found her wandering the woods. She's not one of us. And if you're going to choose her over us, neither are you. You see two of Alenka's compatriots, Alenka being here in the center, and I'll just label her Alenka. You see two of her compatriots stand next to her, as to move closer with their axe and with their pitchfork. And Kolyan gasps when they start to brandish their weapons. How dare you! And he almost crumples from his wounds as he tries to stand up straight. And Irina catches him a moment right before he falls. And he says, please don't lay a finger on my father. Don't! He's trying to help us. And as he sees it, you see that Irina looks around at all of the commoners around, and she's just catching eyes with all of them, but then eventually gravitates to several of you. She sees you all. She's puzzled by the looks. She knows that you're not there. You've seen that look before. You just know when people see that you're not one of them, you know. And she looks at you all puzzled, but almost pleading for help with her eyes.
Rayfield's gonna lean over and up to Chef. Chef, do something.
Chef hears all this, but there's a certain gnawing at the back of his mind. He feels a vibration slightly in his chest, and he notices that it's one of his runes. He looks at it quizzically, and he pays more attention to the back of his mind. He sees an image of glass breaking, of a table shattering, a bear punching and breaking some creature's face. All of these things, it has something in common. He ponders it and then realizes, break, break, break. He looks at the rune and remembers his vision of a giant bear and resolves himself and steps forward. Excuse me, as much as I would absolutely love to see unneeded bloodshed happen between your people, I do not, mind you. Why don't we lay the arms down and direct our attention to the creatures that are going to storm this village if you don't fortify it?
I think that that was a mixture between intimidation and persuasion. But I'll let you choose what you would like to roll for.
I don't
Could
think
I
it's
give him
going to. Ooh.
Sorry, could I have given him help on that, Judo?
How would you have helped him do that?
Just as he goes up there, maybe Rayfield would walk alongside him and put a hand on his rapier as he does so, and just look over the crowd with a bit more of a defined, like, I am looking down on you type way.
I like when a persuasion or intimidation is participated in with more than just, you know what I mean, stancing up, if I'm being honest. Okay. Do you think Rayfield would have said anything?
No.
Okay, sorry. What would you like to roll with, Chef?
I don't think Chef would be leaning into intimidation just yet. I think he would rather try and persuade them first before pulling out the big guns.
Sounds good. So let's make a persuasion check. You only have to beat a DC 10.
Let's see. Oh, I don't have my character sheet up.
It meets and beats. That is a 10.
Then it beats. You see the players, or not the players. You see Alenka and the others, and she puts her hand out and grabs one of the other people who seem a little bit more eager to probably stand up to you, and she says, "Meh, please." You see the burgomaster interrupt. No bloodshed. Listen to what he said. And Lenka lets go of her person, and the person looks back at her, and she just like gives a smug look. Another spit at the ground towards the burgomaster, and then she says, "Let's go to our home. Let's see how fair he heals tomorrow. For your sake, burgomaster, I hope you come to your senses before you succumb to your wounds." And all of these people will begin to walk away. Commoner's walking away, and they're all giving you guys like mean looks. And Irina looks at you all and says, "Thank you all. I'm sorry." And the burgomaster says, "I'm sorry." He goes, "They're confused, but they're Barovians all the same." And does anyone say anything to them?
Chef says, "Please, we're more than happy to help. We were told by Ismark to meet you, Irina."
Oh, Ismark, yes, my brother. Who are you all?
"I am Chef, and this is my band of friends and acquaintances." And he lets them introduce themselves.
Yeah, Rayfield will step up once again, and sort of as he did in the bar, he will gesture not only to Chef, who has just announced himself, but also to Calm. "Miss Irina, this is my friend Calm, our newest friend, Miss Oksana, and of course, behind me, that will be the lovely Irene Valen. Miss Irene Valen, of course."
Chef shoves his head down into the dirt.
There will be
Irene,
staring daggers at the back of Rayfield's head.
Irene,
For
if you
again,
could.
once again using her nickname, her last name, to which is not her last name anymore.
Yeah, so is he? So Chef, sorry, is he like going in the dirt? Out of character?
He's going into the fucking dirt.
Could you please describe it a little more?
Chef, like putting down a noisy child's head, just drops his arm like an anvil down onto Rayfield's neck, just letting him taste sweet, sweet dirt to shut him up.
If you
Yeah,
want,
Ray-
if you want Rayfield, you can totally take that, or you can roll initiative against each other, see who can act first.
I just think it's so fun. I
That's fine.
let it go
Yeah, I just
through.
want to offer the lifeline.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
comes
I-
obviously
I-
get into
I-
position, so go ahead.
I do appreciate the
That's fine.
the thought of being able to do something, but yeah, no, Chef. As his hand is going out, and as he's going down to the ground, because he was looking at Irene as he was introducing her and being the last to be introduced, so he will just see I imagine the look of scorn on her face as he just
Great
gets
word to
half
describe it.
his yeah, just half
Oh,
his
yeah.
face buried in the dirt.
Yep, arms crossed across her chest and just kind of. But she does smirk when his head hits the ground. She does give a little smirk and a nod of approval to Chef.
Chef says, "Please excuse our friend. When he's not full of valor slaying monsters, he is absolutely slow. What he meant to say was Irene Spellweaver."
Okay, Aaron. Hey,
That would
yes.
be me.
And the burgomaster said, "Please conserve your strength. We'll leave the fighting again for the forces against us. Oksana, you were a guest at our home last night. Sorry,
Yes,
me and
my
Irina
lord.
didn't. Sorry, me and Irina didn't have a chance to meet you properly.
Oh, it's no trouble at all. I understand how trying these days have been for you.
And he'll say, "Well, if Ismark sent you, then you must be good people." And he says, "We welcome you warmly into our home. Um, please, Irina had just prepared lunch for us all. Thank you. Please join us for helping us deal with that mob." And you'll see Irina and the burgomaster kind of like lift gingerly a bit, and they'll begin to walk into the house. And Irina says, "Please join us. It's a humble stew, but I think I prepare it well." And they'll move into the house.
Chef perks up at this and yells from the back, "Well, you're in luck, my friend. I love stew."
Um, picks Rayfield up by his like collar off of it there, and does the smallest kind of by like picking up at the side of her clothing, like I want to say gently wiping off his face, but wiping it off before standing him up and turning around to join.
Wonderful. Great. You guys are going to take a walk on over to the dining room. Taking this walk over to the dining room, you will notice that this house is not hosted with anybody who's been around any sort of obviously manner. This house is not does not host servants. There is no maid running around. The house looks as though it had been kept by 3 people for a long time. And she will be walking her father with her. And they will be, the burgomaster will be mumbling to her, and she'll be nodding her head, saying yes. And then she'll check in, and then did you need help changing your bandages? And just essentially taking care of her father. Eventually, make your way all the way to the dining room. A very opulent dining room. That it looks like there's a couple of seats here that have dust on them, so they haven't been used in a great while. She'll sit her father over by the fire. And I'm going to get rid of the burgomaster here, but we'll know his name is Indirovich. And she will say, "Okay, well," and she starts to count the heads of people around here that move on over. Rayfield and Irina don't want to move their characters. There you go. And then, Irina. All right, you guys sit wherever you want. I don't know. I started moving you guys wherever.
Yeah, we're out of character. Where are we all? Where are we all sitting?
I think Chef's gonna sit right next to Rayfield so he doesn't say anything stupid.
No one wants to sit by Rayfield. I'll help Irina serve the food, so I'll wait to sit just whatever's left. Get away from me.
Okay, Irina's
Rayfield.
gonna say. Irina's gonna count, and she says, "Okay, I'll be back with some bowls and then the pot."
Irina, if I could lend you a hand, I'd be happy to.
"Oh, yes, of course." And she says, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. Please come." And she'll take you down to the kitchen.
It's over here. She's buffering Rayfield as well. The Rayfield barrier.
Shit,
Rayfield is just...
that's not where the kitchen is. All right, so.
Wait, where's the door?
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Where's the fucking door?
We gotta go this way. We gotta go far.
This house is horribly laid out.
Yeah.
Chef stares very mirthfully at Rayfield, not just for the stupidity outside, but for the fact that if it wasn't Oksana helping them set the table and get the food, it would have been him.
Rayfield
Oh,
is
this is the door.
Rayfield just sort of slumps into his chair and is just looking at the plate in front of him with sort of a 1,000-yard stare. He has no idea why people are being so mean to him when he did nothing wrong.
Catches his look. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Catches his look, and she just offers one comment. For all of your highborn education, you're stupid. Then she just sits back.
He just gives her a look of just pure hurt in his eyes. Just looking at her. Sorry, just looking at her like even with that comment, he's just like, they're just being mean to me. He has no idea why this has happened to him. So suddenly, the party that was sort of praising him, or at least working well with him in the manner, ever since getting into town, ever since seeing the pretty boy, as it were, things have been going downhill for him, and he has no idea why.
Chef follows this up with allow me some wisdom from my village, boy. There is a saying amongst the more talkative folks of our village. Say less. The less you say, the less idiotic you will seem.
Chef, I appreciate the attempt at wisdom, but I'm not sure how it applies here. I've said nothing astray, I don't believe. I've shown nothing but the kindness.
Tom is like thoroughly annoyed now, and she just like in the middle of him talking, she just slams the table, and just looks at him. We'll talk about this later.
Rayfield's gonna back up a little bit in his chair as she brings her hand down, before looking across the table at was it Lord or Sir Dirovich Judo? Any precursor to the name?
Indirovich.
Yeah, was he a sir or anything like that? I forget. Judo.
My bad, I was muted. Yeah, so that he's Burgomaster Indirovich.
Burgomaster, right.
So, he could be treated as a lord because it's pretty much equates to a baron.
Gotcha. Rayfield is just gonna look pretty aghast at Calm and look across the table. My apologies, Lord Indirovich. We are making fools of ourselves, I fear, at this end of the table.
It's oh, I pay it no mind. It reminds you of a simpler time. He says, Irina will be glad to have you all here, at least to talk to anybody who's been outside of these walls. It's a bit boring sometime. He says, and you said Lord Indirovich.
Forgive me. I simply assumed with the manner and.
It's fine. It's fine. It's been a while since somebody called me a lord. Just a friendly reminder is all. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Being under the service of Baron Kellis, perhaps you've heard the name? I was taught to always regard those with proper respect. And if it would serve you, my title would be the Baronet. But Sir or just Rayfield is of course fine.
Well, I'll have forgotten my manners, and my son doesn't keep me up to date, he says, so we've almost let it go. Rayfield will be fine, if it's all the same.
Of course.
as well as me. And Darovich is fine. We're gonna cut over to Irina, Oksana. Oksana in the kitchen. So I know you might see some stuff here, like the like some herbs and stuff like that, all chopped up. But beyond that, it is very barren in the kitchen. Almost what's being used or what's left here is like the skins of things, the rinds, the ends. Um, and even then, sometimes you see some of that when she's mixing the soup. You'll see some of that in there, as though they're pretty much stripped with the amount of food that they have. Um, and and you see her throwing in some more soup, or rather she's heating some more a soup up because she wasn't expecting this many guests. But eventually you guys get it all together, and she says okay, and then if you don't mind grabbing the bowls, then I'll grab this. I'll grab the or rather, you know what, they're a bit delicate. Let me grab the bowls, and do you mind grabbing the pot?
Of course not. I'm whatever would be best to help.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, thank you. Um, it might be a little bit hot, okay? So, um, you might want to use, and you see her like look around, and she'll just, hand you a rag or so, and she'll say, okay, and then I'll try to balance all of these myself. Thank you so much, Oksana.
Of course. And she'll gingerly grab, very careful not to spill any of the soup they're very generously sharing.
And she says, oh. And then you'll go through the store here following her, and she's like, and you're already moving around this house like you're one of us.
Oh, I
And then,
don't mean to presume, but you have all been very, very kind to have me.
awesome. And you hear the one of us, and you walk through this door, and you hear only one of us can leave. Or one of us has to die. You hear them. And then you hear it again, Oksana. One must die. One must die. One must die. The knife's there. And you see in front of you are two adventurers, Oksana. The two that you've been traveling through the house with, or rather, there was a party before, but now they've all died in some form or fashion throughout the house, making their way here, and mostly by the hands of each other. And here you lay, and you hear the ticking in your head. And then they're like, we have to kill one of us. That's what we have to do. And you start to see these two start to freak out. One of us has to die. And Oksana, you're standing next to the altar, and in the altar where there's a white bundle, you see a dagger. One of us has to die. I'm not gonna fucking die. I'm not dying. And they're like, you think I'm gonna let you kill me? You think I'm going to let either of you kill me? And then he sees you, and he sees the knife, and he sees the bundle. And it's like both of your eyes gravitate to it, Oksana, at the same time. And you know you're both about to make a move to grab the knife. Can you just roll initiative for me, please?
Okay, maybe a different dice this time. Let's see. That is a 13.
Awesome. He got a 3. And you grab the knife, and as you grab the knife, it burns your hand, and then you realize and you're snapped back that the rag must have fell out of your hand, and you're holding that pot, and it's burning in your hand now, and you're snapped back to inside the house, as you're walking over to the kitchen, or rather to the dining table. And Irina holds the door open. She's, Oksana? Come on.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just I don't want you to burn your hand. I seen you drop the thing.
And she's just still, her hand shaking, gripped tight around it. Even as it burns her hand, she remains just holding it.
And she will go around and place the tables around, and she says, "Me and Oksana had to whip up a little bit more. Sorry for taking a bit too long." And she'll like place the bowls in front of all of you.
Sana will go around, starting with the burgermaster, and just serve everyone down the table.
You'll see Irina say, "Oh no, I can do that. Please take a seat."
Oh, I truly don't mind. You've done all the work preparing it. I'm
No.
sure you need rest just as the Lord does.
And she says, "Please, it be my honor. It's nice to help the people who just helped us." She said, "Please sit."
Oh,
You're fine, Oksana.
of
She'll put her
course.
hand on your shoulder. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course. Yes.
And so Irina will begin to serve around the table. And you have a nice hearty stew in front of you. It's, you have potatoes. You have slices of tomatoes, carrots. You could tell that there was definitely pork inside of here. And it's all a really delicious medley. And Chef, I'm sure you can appreciate this probably the most out of everyone. As she serves it around, and you'll hear her say, it's what we could put together. So again, I'm sorry. It's just, you know.
Well, as far as Chef is concerned, this is the first stew that he's. Well, my mic just cut out. As far as Chef is concerned, this is the first stew he's seen in years come into this land. He very reverently says, "Irina, this is a fine stew you have. Thank you for your hospitality."
Oh, you see her blush. She goes, "Really?" She goes, "Thank you so much." Well, if I knew Ismark was going to bring good company over, I would have, made some more. She says, "Perhaps tomorrow." And then you see her almost remember the fragility of the times they're in. And she, collects herself for a second, and you'll see her sit down and make sure that her father's fine with his food. And you'll see Kolyan says, "So, tell me about yourselves."
Chef says, "Well, I did not know of this land until very loosely, a sort of children's story that I heard of a land draped in mist, of monsters hiding beyond the fog, of treasures and riches being guarded within. Now, I did not personally come for the treasures, mind you. I came in for," and he looks at his hands, "business, if you will. I originally came in a carriage by the Vistani, as did everyone else here, I imagine. But things did not go as expected, and we found ourselves stranded in a manor owned by the Durst, if you know them."
He says, "I have heard of the Durst. They used to own a windmill. This was many, many years ago, beyond my time, but there's some record that was kept back when this was a proper, realm. As of late, it has, um, it has become hard to travel in between and to gather news easily. But yes, a family from here a long, long, long time ago. Um, Again, I believe that windmill, I believe that lives between here and Valaki, another village. Hopefully, in a better situation than we are." Irina would have focused in on kind of like where you were from, and she would have said, "Was it nice there?" I'm sorry. Was it nice there? Like, you can see she's very excited to learn about where you're from.
Chef says pointedly, that manor, there are sights in that manor that I would wish on no one, but luckily that manor is no more now. Its past is now finally buried, and I hope it stays that way.
Hmm.
But onto a brighter subject, what I am from, I am from the northern mountains, far, far away from this place. There, from my village, there are, well, I won't bore you with the details of my northern tongue. I suppose the closest name for it would be Icehaven. There are more like myself, you see, but we are a strong and hearty people.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be bothered by your northern tongue. You said, um, it would be awesome to talk to you later to find out exactly what where you're from and the stuff you've seen. And you're just looking at a woman. Anyone here is looking at a woman who has been sheltered, in the sense that she hasn't been out of here, out of not just this manor, maybe even no, but especially this village. Um, and Kolyan will move on. What about you all? Where are you from? Not to give too much, uh, 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 not to give too much attention to things we wish not to speak on, Chef. I'm sure the manner was ill, as much things beyond the walls are. He says, but maybe we speak on brighter times. And he begins to eat his soup. Does anyone hail from a place that they wish to speak on? It won't fall on deaf ears.
Calm decidedly does not have any bright times to speak about. No, she doesn't.
Rayfield, for once, will not be talking. He's just gonna be looking at his soup and eating it.
And I will take note of the silence from Calm and the unordinary silence from Rayfield, and she'll decide to speak up. Um, she'll say, well, I don't have many pleasant memories of home. I've seen many, many beautiful places and villages in my travels. I hail from far away, and as a follower of Celestian, um, we believe in wandering and exploring, and so that's exactly what I've done for the last 10 years.
And Irina's like, so you must have been all over the place. And you see, she almost like grabs
Oh,
at your
yes.
hand to like get your attention on her. So you must have been everywhere.
Irene will warmly smile at her and she'll give her hand a little pat and she'll say, oh, absolutely. I've had the wonderful opportunity of seeing beautiful, beautiful landscapes, stretching meadows, and I've I've climbed the highest mountains and I've come across wonderful people, all kinds of different people, very kind, very generous, and I've made a lot of friends along the way, including the ones I have now.
And you just see sparkles in her eyes, like almost like you're revealing a world of possibilities to her. And she realizes that she was almost like gripping your hand, and she lets go. She says, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then will like remove her hand.
Mm.
That's that's amazing. That's truly amazing.
I hope that you can see beautiful places too one day. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, she'll look at you and give me an insight check, Irene.
Okay. 6.
on a 6, maybe there was something in her that she didn't say, but conveyed, and for whatever reason, you maybe just looked away at the wrong time, and um, she says, "No, that would be nice," and she just goes back to um, eating her soup, and as she does, you'll see Irina say, "Oh, um, by the way, and I don't mean to volunteer you all, but are you helping tonight?"
Chef says, "We are, if you'll let us."
Oh, no, that would be wonderful. Of course. I just I remember Ismark is supposed to be here. And it looks like he's not. Do you know maybe where he went?
He went searching for a girl. She was supposedly heading towards the castle on her own. Ismark went to intercept her and
Ismark
hopefully.
Ismark left the village, and you see her stand up, and you see Indirovich say, "Irina, please sit down." And she says, "He's not supposed to leave the village. It's dangerous out there." And then she says, I have to go find him." And you see him say, "Sit down, Irina." And you see her almost fall into this fit, like she's, white knuckled. She's holding at her rapier, like she's ready to just run out with it. And she just, with resentment, sits down. And he says, "He knows he's not supposed to leave the village, but he's foolhardy, and he hasn't ever listened to us. The boy doesn't know when to quit." He says, "But you must be smarter, Irina. You must know when to." And you see that she's just not talking to him, and she just like eats her soup. And then she says, "If any of you need supplies, we have but one mercantile here. His name is Bildrath. He runs the shop, and the only thing I would mention to you is to not mention Ismark, as he may not be too
Chef,
kind to you all."
Chef says, yes, we met. But I'll see if he's a little willing to outfit us accordingly." Then he turns his attention to Irina. "Irina, your brother? He is a man of courage. I've seen it firsthand. He did not go alone. He took his horse with him. I imagine he should be back before the beasts come piling in at your walls. But if he is not, I volunteer myself to go looking for him tomorrow once we hold them back, yes?"
She says, I know, thank you. And she says, he'll be back. He always comes back. And keeps eating her soup. And she says, "As for Bildrath, he might let you buy some wares, but he's not going to charge you anything but the prettiest of pennies. I can tell you that certainly."
Chef smiles a little and says, "I think we've had a first-hand vision of what exactly interests our old mercantile." And as he says that, he very slightly pulls out the champagne Dule Stomp out of his bag and says, "I think we can loosen a few items. This?"
Awesome. Yeah, you pull that out, and she says, "Oh, perhaps it would." And she says, "I wish we had any wine to give, but we've donated whatever we could over to the tavern." And she says, "Sorry, all. I've forgotten to give drinks. I know we're having soups, but Perhaps and you're looking at all of these like wine bottles that are here, and they're all just empty. And they've collected dust like they've been drank a long time ago. And she says, perhaps I could offer some water to you all.
Chef considers this, but then thinks back to the champagne and weighs his. He looks towards Calm and see if he can catch her eye and maybe get a silent opinion.
Tom is kind of hunched over. She's eating the soup like someone's gonna take it from her. And it's more of a habit than anything. My train of thought just completely derailed. What was Chef trying to do again?
He was trying to catch her eye and like see if, or you know what? He doesn't even have to. I forgot they have brain messaging.
Did they still?
Oh,
I think they still do.
I'm sorry.
I
I'm sorry. They are. You haven't heard from them, and I'm sorry. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. You haven't heard of them. You almost don't feel that same connection, but you still carry the bones.
Yeah, I would also say that they weren't in us anymore.
Yeah, it was in one of
they-
them was in Rayfield.
Yeah, at least.
I believe it
What is
was the one in Rayfield.
Yeah, they like traded places. Anyway, Calm does, eventually catch his what Chef's putting down, turning her eye behind her.
Chef just very subtly just reflects the light from like the inside of like the dining room off of the champagne glass and just raises just a little bit of an eyebrow to see what her reaction would be.
What Irina's reaction would be?
For Calms.
She really doesn't know what to make of all this. She's like, now he's putting on a light show. I'm just trying to eat here.
Chef just inwardly sighs a little bit and then says, "You know, I feel like with my charming disposition, I could perhaps get some help out of our dear old friend, Bildrat, was it?
Yes.
Why don't we have a proper little celebration here, yes?" As he pulls out the champagne.
Awesome. She says, "Oh, really? Okay. I'll go grab some glasses really quick," and she'll grab the glasses and set them out on the table. Awesome. You guys have Champagne de l'Estron. And it tastes really yummy.
And this is while they're drinking it, or?
Yeah, it tastes really yummy.
All right. Chef raises his glass skyward and says, "To those we lost, and to the days we will fight ahead. There is light at the end of this all, and I hope you will all still be there to see it with me."
Awesome. And they'll all hold up their drinks, and then you'll see an ache come from Indirovich as he does, but he'll with his stomach and his wounds that he has there, and then he'll bring his glass down, and she says that was beautiful, Chef. At least Irina, and then Indirovich will say yes, and they'll all drink.
Rayfield is going to he will pick up his glass for the toast, but he'll set it back down without drinking.
Takes his glass.
Awesome. Uh, while that's happening, when you guys are drinking and eating and all, at any point in here, do any of you want to ask any questions to Irina or to the Baron or Indirovich?
You know,
Right
there
here?
is exactly one burning question in Colin's mind. She probably this isn't the place to drop it, but she just
Mm-hmm.
levies
What's up?
it just out in the air.
Go ahead.
How do you kill a vampire?
Oh, and she looks over at Indirovich, and Indirovich says, "We do not know.
Hmm.
Nobody knows. Though I'm sure many have tried. Unfortunately, they don't get to report back." And he says, "I'm
Did
sorry, but surely, should you encounter the vampire, then at least you won't have to worry about failure, because the fate would already have been decided." And Irina chimes in and says, and she'll like kind of give a pester to her father, and she says, "There has to be a way, certainly. In fact, I was thinking maybe you all knew a way, but from your lands and from what you've seen, if you don't know, then unfortunately, this is the only realm that has to pay that consequence."
Shep thinks on this and says, if they are made of flesh and bone, they can be killed. But I tried asking Ismark this, but he didn't exactly help with it. He said they were creatures of night, but he narrowly had given a description of them. Could you describe them for me? I have not seen a vampire before.
She said, "You'll see Irina and Indira say, the one who rules over us now had been asleep for over 100 years. None of us had seen one at all, nor know exactly what they look like, how they act, what they can do, what they are capable of. Beyond that, sometimes we don't know if he is just a tyrant or a vampire. Whether he chooses to show one versus the other, it all blends in the same. He is the devil. So you'll forgive us, as only in the past couple of months has he been arisen. And now, every day, at least for these 6 days, and truthfully, many more beyond and before, we will suffer with that." I'm sorry there's no answer.
Not to worry, my friend. But you will not suffer alone, eh? We will be shoulder to shoulder with this together. And I will pledge myself to help you in your village. Is the very least I can do for your hospitality, kindness.
And he'll nod his head. "We appreciate having you, chef. Thank you." And anyone else have any questions? Looks like a no.
Chef, ooh, I was gonna say, Chef will remember something and say, Ismark. He said something about fire bottles being needed. Would you happen to know anything about?
Oh yes. I do have them prepared. And she'll look over at the wine bottles that are right next to you guys, the ones that are empty, and she says, "I will have them prepared, at least by tomorrow morning, or rather, tonight. Tonight, before we go out to the barricades."
So, did they finish the Champagne Dule Stomp, or is there still some left in there?
Calm, did you finish it?
Yes.
Chef will laugh at the realization of the empty bottles and say, well then. And he picks up the empty Dule Stomp bottle and says, one more for the bastards, eh?
And she'll laugh and she says, "Of course." She says, "Please put it there, and I'll make sure I fill them up tonight." Um, and awesome. We will. We're going to get to a certain point while we're eating here and finishing our drink and whatnot. He'll say, "Oh, perhaps I could ask you all for an outside perspective on a matter that's beginning to trouble me."
Chef will lean in and say, but of course, ask away.
He'll say, "Irina, can you please grab me my?" She'll run out of the place and then come back in, and she'll hand a paper and he'll say, "This parchment, Irina, please place it there." And you'll see that it's just a parchment on the desk. He says, "There's a crude drawing around the village. There's thin lines depicting a like road and a river to the southwest. Darker shapes depicting like the woods in the north, the east, and the south." And he says, "Each night, dozens of undead lay siege to our defenses, killing some and wounding many more. But instead of attacking all at once, they arrive in groups. Each wave strikes our defenses separately and almost randomly throughout the night. What do you make of that? Wouldn't you want to crush us?"
Chef ponders this and says, my only experience in battles besides the ones from this land of sharp-toothed and sharp-clawed beasts, mostly for hunting for meat, but sometimes they would come in packs, somewhat like you describe. If I had to guess, there was a sort of uniformity amongst these raids. Perhaps it's not so much trying to stomp out this village they're concerned with these raids, but perhaps to lower the morale, maybe? I mean, I have seen it firsthand working with a certain mercantile here.
This is interesting. Does anyone else have any insight on that?
Rayfield will just speak up real quick. You want to say something? Come.
Nope. Go ahead.
Okay. Rayfield will just speak up, head still sort of in the soup, and say, "Perhaps it is a test." And go back to his eating.
Looking over her empty bowl, just places her hands on the table, clasping them. Maybe they need to replenish their forces every night. They have to rally somewhere.
He says,
Irene may have some insight on this particular subject, considering that her father was commander of her empire's army. So if it's some type of like battle strategy, perhaps she would be able to offer some type of helpful insight. And it kind of sounds like perhaps what Chef was saying was right. It sounds like they're trying to not exactly wipe everyone out, rather to weaken morale, and it almost sounds like a taunting.
says this is true. So far, we know that in the forest there are. I mean, there are hundreds that are in the woods, though it's only dozens that attack us. I say hundreds, but it could be as many as 1,000 lurking in the woods. Perhaps this is true. Perhaps they only seek to dwindle us in soul as they dwindle our numbers in front of us. He nods his head. Thank you for letting me borrow your ear. Perhaps, do any of you intend to travel to other settlements should we survive the night? Namely, Valaki and Kresk to the west.
Chef flexes one arm and says, "We will carve a path ourselves through the undead hordes if we have to, yes. I hope we can unite all the villages to one cause."
Well, allow me to help. And, you'll see him say something to Irina. Irina comes back with, like, a quill and an ink. And he says, and he writes something out. And he reads it. To whom it may concern, I humbly ask that you provide the bearer of this letter with what aid you can. Trust in their purpose, assist in their endeavors, and offer shelter and counsel if you are able. Please extend to them every courtesy you would afford a friend of mine. With utmost respect, Kolyan Endirovich, Burgomaster of Barovia. And he'll say, he'll fold it up, put a little envelope. You see that there's a little, bit of wax that is, bleeding off of one of the candles here anyways. And he'll pour it on top of the note, and then he'll stamp it with his ring. And he'll say, here you are, then. For new friends, should we make it through the night?
Chef headedly pockets the letter, or at least starts to, but then considers it and says, I think I know someone who could use a little boost in reputation around here. And then he shoves the note into Rayfield's chest. Why don't you hand over the note to the village, pretty boy, once we get there? I'm sure they'll appreciate the offer.
Rayfield will take the note and just while looking at Chef and looking across the table at Endirovich, will open up part of his jacket and just tuck it in there and just bow his head at Endirovich.
Okay, well,
He's being very good right now.
Servile. Good.
Well, I'm sure Ismark offered you rooms, and if he didn't already, then I will definitely offer you them. I can't say how much sleep you'll be able to get or when, but if nothing else, they should provide a quiet place to rest.
We appreciate it all the same, my friend. I will see you soon tonight, yes?
And Endirovich says, unfortunately, I'm injured. I'll be staying here tonight. And you'll see him get up and wince. Irina will be at his side and say, careful. To you all, if you don't mind meeting in the foyer, and I'll come and fetch you and take you to your bedrooms. I just need to change his bandages.
If I could offer assistance, my lord, I have some experience healing, if it might bring you some peace for your rest.
You will see, and I'm just gonna say this above table. So he has a deep wound type stuff that can't simply be just healed, like with magic, for example. Just FYI.
Okay.
But if you're talking about bandages and stuff like that, like if you want to help like in that way, then Irina would definitely take the help.
Yeah, I will do either then, and if it would at least like ease his pain a bit, I
Mhm.
can pump some magic in, but either way.
Awesome. So, awesome. So then, you guys will essentially disappear to go do that, and then the rest of you would be asked to go meet in the foyer for her to arrive eventually.
Sounds good.
Does gather up their plates at least before leaving.
Renee will help
Chef will do the
Tom
same.
with that.
Now
Awesome,
you
you guys
Rayfield, Rayfield, my mic was muted. I swear to God, I swear
are-
to God, my mic was muted.
Yeah,
I
you're right
swear to
about that.
God, my mic was muted. I swear to God.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
they all clean up together, holding hands. That's above table. That's OC.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yep. They clean up and then they leave, I assume.
Awesome. So if you clean up, essentially just putting maybe dishes away or whatnot, then you go to the foyer. As you all go to the foyer, you all see what looks like a dog over here in this corner, just laying down, looking at you all, just panting as you walk out. It just stares at you.
Chef gets down on his knees and says, "Oh, now who is this little friend? Is it a new friend of Chef's?"
And you see this dog gets up, and now it's in good view. And you see that it stands way taller than you thought before. And you see that inside here is a wolf.
Does Chef still get the impression that it's a friend?
Chef would see that it stops panting. And then it stands up and looks at you all. And then you see it move its head through the door here. And it walks itself away, looking at you as it moves.
Sorry, my cat's being a menace. Chef remembers the plaster wolves from the manor, and you don't think there's you know,
And Irina will eventually make it back. And Irina says, thank you all, and she'll have come from upstairs. Thank you all for waiting. Please, come with us, or come with me. And she will take you upstairs, in which you'll just look up from your map. Oh, shit. Dude, I suck at this game. I suck at this game. I suck at this game. Okay, actually.
You don't, Judah. You do not suck. Out of
Actually?
character.
Actually, I might be.
We're
the
so
goat.
back.
Actually, I'm the goat. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Okay, awesome. Guest bedrooms, guest bedrooms, guest bedrooms, guest bedrooms. So there are a couple of guest bedrooms that'll be out here. One will be over here. She says we have two really nice ones. And she says, and then we'll have two sort of guest ones that we don't use outside, or that are downstairs. Actually,
Take one of the
and
ones downstairs, she says. Your name
She's-
will say.
she says, we actually have three upstairs and one downstairs. Is that still okay with you, Renee?
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, wonderful. So they'll show these three bedrooms, There's
I don't-
actually still 2 downstairs, right? How many people do I have? 5? There's 5 of you guys?
Yeah.
Aw.
Real quick, Judo, as Irene is going down the stairs, Rayfield will just sort of reach a hand out for her. She's already down the stairs, but he's reaching, and he'll just give like a soft like Irene.
Wait, is he
Whether-
already
whether-
upstairs?
I mean, you
I don't
are
know if
wherever
you heard
you want
that.
to be. You are wherever you
I'm
want to
downstairs. I'm gonna say I didn't hear that.
be. Okay.
Oh no.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Shit! Oh shit!
Tom walks after her. She's taking the downstairs one.
Awesome, and the 2 guest rooms are here. Irina will show you there. She says, either one. And she says, sorry, you're just gonna hear a little bit of me getting these bottles together.
Chef says, please do whatever you have to.
She says, okay, well, please, everyone get some rest. And so go to your guys' bedrooms, whichever bedrooms you choose. I've already.
Did I die?
No, no,
Welcome back.
I'm so
Welcome
sorry. I'm so
back.
sorry. You're supposed to be back. You're supposed to be back with her. You really just changed some of the helped her change the bandage, and
Okay.
he got comfortable in his room. And his room is over here.
These rooms don't have doors.
Listen,
What rooms?
use your imagination. They're behind the paintings. It's the themed hotel.
You said which one?
This
These
is
rooms
not
don't
a
have doors?
doorway.
Theater of the
Oh,
mind.
they do. No, they do have doors. They're cut out of the thing. So hold on, let me reveal this. The entrance is right there. So those are the doors.
I see.
Awesome. No, you're not dead. You were in this room with the king, with the baron, and you're all healed up. He's all healed up,
Ooh.
and then you guys made it back downstairs.
Gotcha.
All right. So let's choose rooms now. Chef Rayfield, Oksana upstairs. Oksana gets first pick because she was already here.
I don't have a token.
What the hell?
Yeah, where is she at?
What do you mean? Oh, because I
Help.
disappeared her. That's why
Help.
you said you're. Am I dead? Right.
I'm
Fucking
dead.
The fog got her.
Goodbye
There's-
forever.
There she is.
I guess she'll take this one.
Awesome. Okay.
yeah.
Chef and Rayfield, choose now.
Rayfield will walk into the closest one and head inside.
When Irina puts you in there, she'll say, "Oh, hopefully you don't find anything too awkward in there. One of our last guests used to use that room, so I just don't think I gave it a good enough cleaning, but I just haven't been there in a while. I'm sorry." Chef, she would have told you that your room is pretty clean, that no one has used it in many years.
Sorry, was that to Oksana's room or Rayfield's
That was
room?
Rayfield. Irina would have told you, Rayfield.
You motherfucker. Rayfield is just going to sit on like the very edge of the bed,
Put a towel over the
Like-
bed
like-
like a
like-
cheap hotel.
like it's a motel.
Awesome.
Chef is does Chef like see this before he goes into his room?
Probably hears it as he's going to his.
Irina will take off. She's busy. You guys need to get sleep. And Rayfield, as you shuffle around your bed, you almost hear like a paper crunch from where you're sitting at.
And sorry, where would that paper crunch in his field? Where would that be?
It sounds like when you're sitting on the bed in a certain angle, you crunch this paper and you realize that it's almost like down the seams of the mattress to where it goes into the frame. You hear this crunch.
Yeah, Rayfield will pick himself back up and lift up the edge of the overcovers and sort of stick his. He's not crazy about it, but he'll stick a finger down into the sort of the edge there to see if he can feel for anything or whatever it is he heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he will feel a paper.
Yeah, he'll pull it out. See what it
Awesome.
says.
Everyone's getting some well-deserved shut-eye. Rayfield, you are looking at this paper.
I would like to do something before everyone goes to sleep. So just before,
Mm-hmm.
after the paper, and before the sleep.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I'm just saying, like, everyone's in the room getting ready for shut-eye is what I should say. Getting ready.
Gotcha.
Um, you pull out a paper, and you pull out like a torn excerpt, um, which at the top is labeled. Sorry, which at the top is labeled Van Richten's Guide to Vampires by Dr. Rudolf Van Richten. And on that first page, you see that's all it's titled, and then you would turn the page, and it would start. Um, it would start this. It would start like this, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna post it for you to read, um, and then I'll post it for everyone else.
That is a lot of words, Judah.
Yeah, go ahead. You start now. You might finish before we're done.
Turns up the music about it.
I want you to read it out loud. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was
as Rayfield.
Bro.
Rayfield can't read. He's just staring at it. Wow, I wonder what this is.
Alright. In some shadowed corners of the world, the vampire reigns as a fearsome predator. Beyond mere bloodlust, these creatures are cursed with a range of abilities and weaknesses that make them as enigmatic as they are terrifying. Their bodies are resilient to mundane weapons, shrugging off blows that would fell most mortals and regenerating even gravest wounds in a matter of moments. They move with unnatural grace, their senses sharply attuned to the whispers of the night. But it is in their supernatural abilities that their true powers lie. They can bend the will of others to their own, ensnaring friends and foe with a gaze and a whisper. They can shift form with ease of thought, becoming bats, wolves, or even a sinister mist that creeps beneath doorways and through cracks. And those their fangs kill become vampire spawn, ravenous creatures with the vampire's hunger for blood. These creatures are not invincible, however, possessing a tapestry of strengths woven with fatal weaknesses. Sunlight and running water can end their cursed existence. Wooden stakes through their heart paralyze them as they sleep. They recoil from the sight of certain holy symbols, cannot enter a residence without invitation. They bear neither shadow nor reflection, and must return to their coffers, crypts, graves by rest by day. It is said that the bloodlust of these creatures is an unquenchable fire that burns within their hearts. The young and newly turned are slaves to this, often losing themselves in the frenzy at the mere scent of blood. But those who have walked the night for centuries, as well as those with an indomitable focus and will, may learn to temper this fire. Those who do so possess the rare ability to conceal their monstrous nature, retracting and exposing their fangs at will, a sign that the monster within is held at bay, if only the vampire allows. To create a new vampire, a vampire must fully drain the blood of its victim without killing it, a torturous and careful process that can take multiple nights. For some vampires, the process is a practical means of creating fresh, powerful thralls. For others, It presents a sadistic opportunity to slowly break their victim's will. Some vampires in the latter camp may even appear as an intermittent predator in the night, haunting their targets over days or weeks, or finally ending their cycle. And as Rayfield comes to the bottom of this, his eyes will just sort of go wide. You know, he'd heard stories as a kid of vampires, but he never imagined them to be anywhere near. I mean, as a kid, sure, but he grew up and essentially grew out of these stories. He had possible thought in his mind that this stuff could be real, but between um, what Ismark has said, between the conversation earlier at the table, between everything happening um, in the town so far, and then he thinks and he looks over the paper again to the part where it talks of them being able to transform into bats, into mist, into wolf that they saw downstairs. Rayfield immediately jolts up from the bed, practically grabs his rapier, slams the door open, bangs his hand on the wall. Chef! Chef! And will run down the stairs, clutching the rapier in one hand and the note in the other.
Chef, not knowing what's going on. Gods above, I will crush your skull with naught but a thought if you don't shut your fucking mouth.
Chef, please! It's the wolf! It's not what you think it is.
Chef, still annoyed, but remembering that this is someone who I've the manor with, will still take heed and try and find him down the hall.
Yeah, and he's gonna
Sorry, I'm gonna
run
pause
down
you
those
there.
stairs.
As all that was happening upstairs, on Irene's and Calm's doors, you almost hear like a paw pad scrape at your door. Almost like a knock. To Calm and Irene, not hearing the commotion above, what do you do?
Renee will kind of put her head up to the door, her ear up to the door, before just cracking it ever so slightly.
And Calm, what do you do? You might be muted.
I think she hears Irene's door open and, despite her own better judgment, she does also open her door. Much more swiftly, though.
Wonderful. And you open the door, and we will end our session there, and we'll be at the next one.
You motherfucker.
Yay, I
And-
got to be
and-
here for an ear and a
can
ends
we-
to badness.
Can we talk about the fact that it's Irene again?
Hey, this
I
time
think-
it's with Calm.
Yeah.
Calm it doesn't count because
Oh.
Calm is also in peril.
I'm gonna be so honest with you. The only reason she's in peril is because she heard Irene's door. She was not gonna open the fucking door.
That is awesome.
We gotta
Very,
start
very
baby-proofing
awesome.
Irene in the last like 20 minutes of this session.
I knew she was gonna do it. I'm like, no, no.
To be honest, Aaron, I saw they had some type of weird dog, and she was like, maybe they also have a cat. Maybe this cat is scratching at my door, and I will have company for the night.
She's gonna have company. She's fine.
Awesome. Very cool session, guys.
Welcome, Erica. Fucking
Thank
awesome character.
you.
I
Oh,
love
thank
Oksana already.
you.
Welcome to
Oksana
the club.
time.
Welcome to the club.
He doesn't have
Welcome to
trauma.
our
What?
club. Welcome to our club. Anyway, what do we
yeah.
think about what do we think about the new Rayfield smile?
It's the old Rayfield, but more present.
Yeah. What do we think of Rayfield out of immediate danger? Not like
He's
actually
worse. He's like
no,
so
I
much
know. It's
worse.
I know. I know.
Rayfield is slowly becoming the danger here.
No, I was
He's reading it like, oh, they can control people's minds. God, I wish that was me.
I was talking to Yoon outside the game afterwards, and I was like, man, I know because I already had a thought of how Rayfield would act once the life or death situation died down, and I was saying to her, I was like, man, they're so cute right now. I'm gonna hate to play out what happens next because it's just gonna crush them for a bit.
For a bit, forever.
Yeah, and look at what happened. Dead names her twice, and it's just acting the fool this entire fucking time.
Yep.
And I will say, is getting the proper treatment for it from Chef especially.
You know, the only reason Calm even talked to him in the tavern was like, I gotta mitigate this. It did not work. Calm. How do we feel about Calm not in immediate danger too?
Yeah, calm, a little
not
bit
that
nicer, a little bit
She
more
is-
talkative.
She has spoken more words, I think, than the entire banner.
Yeah. Yeah, she
I
said
have to say, that little interaction with Calm and the beers and Irene was the cutest fucking thing in this whole campaign so far.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
I loved calm.
She's
going
stress
for the-
eating, by the way. It's not like,
Yeah.
haha, this is a cute thing. No, she's fucking stressed.
I loved calm going for the third beer and then the fourth beer. So fucked.
That was.
Takes his champagne glass.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad you guys are enjoying. I can't even say it.
This
And, We're
This man is
certainly
gonna be-
we're certainly experiencing him.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
definitely playing him. No, he's dope. I like him a lot.
Thanks, Cheetah.
He has that certain dickhead vibe that pays up later. I hate to say it, guys, but that's
It
exactly what it
does.
is. That's what it is, but you hate it right now so much. Like I'm like, oh fuck this dude, but it's awesome. 'Cause he's
I mean,
like,
that's
he- and
assuming
when-
he becomes a better person.
When he
he
asked
will,
the
I
broken
can tell.
when he asked the broken down leader of the town for wine.
It's like, do you have anything
my
better?
God.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
scared of a children's story, buddy. Did you not know?
It's
You're
awesome.
crazy. He's crazy.
I
He's
I
just
I will
crazy.
say I have had so much fun playing. In going from, I'm trying not to make him too hated, but it is I have to dip him before I can raise
He's gotta get
him up.
fucking baptized in
currently
fire
just-
first.
We gotta survive the dip before we can get
Chef's
cool.
gonna beat
Rayfield.
wisdom into him, like it or not.
Yeah, I love the fact that Rayfield truly has no idea why he's being treated like this.
That's super.
I
Fun.
know. Yeah, Calm is just. She has her work cut out in front of her. She has the slightest bit of responsibility for her friend in this situation.
He's a real fiction.
Yep,
I love that.
and
do you guys are you guys fucking with the town vibe?
Yes.
Oh, I
yeah.
love
it's good shit. It's
So
good
good.
shit.
I think I said earlier, it feels a lot like the Hamlet in Darkest Dungeon, and I really fuck with that, with like the manor on the hill.
And then do you guys like Ismark or Irina or
I'm in love with him.
I think everyone
Love
really
Ismark.
likes Ismark.
Love Ismark. Thank you. Great.
If he's not like a partner opportunity, railroading Judo, fucking
You're
railroading.
railroading. You're railroading. me?
Arina's
I can
great
do what I
too,
want.
and I can't
Judo-
wait
Yeah,
to
I
see
feel
it.
like
Judo-
Irina and Oxon are having like a pick me off. Like, no, I'm so small and cute. No.
Yeah.
Arina's great. I can't wait to see in what horrible way she's about to die in later sessions because I know it's happening.
That and oh, I already know Ismark is fucking cooked, and I hate to say it.
No, he's just gonna get a cool scar and he'll come back to me.
I think um
Come on, Ismark, come back to mommy. Just let me take care of you. Everything will be all right, Mark.
I like the fact that nobody knows what a positive calm interaction looks like.
There was a positive one with Irene, sort of.
Yeah, she said thank you, and then apparently that wasn't enough. She was like, I guess I didn't do enough.
That was
Like-
positive.
That
You
was
like
positive.
spirits,
That was
right? That's
conclusion.
different. I only like ale, thank you. Yeah,
And
that
then she was
that
like,
went
you know,
well.
thanks for asking. Smile. She didn't smile though.
You know when you
Thanks
get
for
points
asking.
when you're like with someone, you're like giving like you get points for I don't know just doing something. You can tell like oh they like that. You know what I mean? I got points to them. I don't know what Ismark felt about giving Calm the third beer. I don't think he felt like he got any like point from her. Like oh okay. She'll
Yeah,
just drink
that like you're playing like I don't know like Dragon Age, but you have your UI turned off, so you cannot tell. if a character like that.
And then
I said, yeah, you have to think that if anybody wants to be friends with Kam, you have to think that.
Just
think
give her gifts
actually,
and
you
it's
know
like,
what?
I don't know what that just did.
Chef did get like a proper one at the end of the manor. Slightly proper, you know. She didn't listen to him after that fact, you know.
Oh,
she just kept walking.
She spoke a full sentence to get her tabaxi speed back. She stood still for 6 seconds so that she could run off.
She did do that. Yep.
Yeah, Irene was just trying to be friendly and like make some conversation, maybe connect with some girl power, and then Calm is just like, "What are your intentions?"
He's
Yeah, why is
suspicious.
it? Yeah, why is Irene being so mean towards Rayfield? What could he have possibly done?
And to be
You
fair, I
asking
think that
is
was the
crazy.
first
I'm
sentence.
just kidding. I'm kidding.
The
I
first
don't know.
sentence. Irene
I
and
I
Calm-
too don't know. I'm like, oh, what
Yeah, Judo, why are they so mean to Rayfield?
I don't
Why
know.
are
what
women
has he
so
done?
emotional and sensitive?
No, that's actually fucking him right now. God, why are all the people treating me like this? What could I have done?
That is great. How many of you guys think that Oksana is a psycho killer?
Rayfield. Nah.
Calm's not
I think
being-
I think Eric
in
is
my
the psycho
first-
killer.
What did I
I
do?
think Eric's the psycho killer.
I mean, like out of character,
Chef is
obviously.
the one that's
Your
damaged.
characters wouldn't know, except for Chef maybe having the thought. Yeah, that's cool.
So, if I could,
She is sweet as peaches, so maybe like that kind of would track maybe.
if I could address the elephant in the room quick, what are we thinking about next week?
I think-
I can do it next week.
I can
so-
also do it next week.
I would like a break.
Okay, then we'll do break.
You said it, and I was gonna decline, but then
That's fine. All good. Let's take a break. So we'll take a break for the 23rd. Right? That's it. Yeah, the 23rd. So we're gonna skip the 23rd, and then we'll back. Or is everyone good for the 30th?
Yeah.
Should be.
I will be good
Believe
with the
so.
30th.
Irene or you didn't say anything.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm good with that. Just putting it in my calendar.
Cool.
Chris is gonna be crying in my DMs after this, by the way.
I'm crying in your DMs now. Not waiting.
Yeah, we ended on such a cliffhanger too. Like you can't. What do you even do in the roleplay chat?
True.
I'm good. I think that we're always gonna end on a cliffhanger.
Maybe it
And
just took
Aaron
Rayfield
and
so
Aaron
long
involved
to
cliffhanger.
read.
You guys want to? If you in roleplay, we could pretend you guys were at dinner or right before bed, and that's what we could do.
Oh, true. Well,
I
Oh,
was
but
planning on that
Rayfield is
walk.
all like Rayfield is all kick puppy mode. I can't fucking. He's gonna be sitting there sad.
I mean,
Maybe
to
you
be
can
fair,
work through it.
Tom was about to give him that talking to.
I was gonna do that with Chef.
Oh
It
my
was-
god.
Yeah.
Everyone's
his
taking
door.
over his room like
and
when-
Oksana's gonna talk to him, and then Irene's gonna talk to him. Great.
If you guys have something that you want to say or ask, like things that might come up eventually, obviously not on information that you already know, or that you currently know. For example, literally just that little manuscript that he read, so it can't have that. But with Irina, or with the Burgomaster, then I would suggest that. Then I would suggest that you ask them stuff, but you have to at me and be like, hey, at this time, if I would ask this person this, what would they have said? Or something like that, right? Or I don't know, however you want to do it. Or just to start it off so I know that you're trying to talk to an NPC, right? Beyond that, you guys choose whatever frame that you guys are on.
At Cheeto, what would my patron say?
What would my patron say about this one? And what about this one? And what about this one?
It's funny, they just don't talk. I'm pretty sure. I think that was right now what's happening.
They're like parallel playing right now.
She said
At
this.
Calm's preferred relationship.
Yeah. Real. Anyways, but there you go. Cool. So we'll play on the 30th. We're gonna skip next week. I also, I am picking out some people for my Saturday campaign. It's not gonna happen anytime this month for sure. Before my little one shot that I'm doing, but I want to let you guys know that if you don't get picked, it's probably just you're not getting picked right now. And if you're interested, you probably get picked for maybe the next one, right? Like if you didn't get it on this one, you'll get it on the next one type beat. Just because I'm trying to pick people from different campaigns that I have, and I want to put them together in this other world, you know?
Ooh, you get to mix match the vibes.
Mix match the players, and you know what I mean? This way you guys can play together, and you guys all know that I'm evil, so it'll be fun that we play a more fantastical game together. Cool. Anyways, so just laying that out there. I'll hit you up if I'm gonna pick you for this first run. Do not take any offense to it because I want to play with all of you. If you guys want to also play that game with me,
I will cry. Just letting you know.
I will also cry.
I'm sure you will. I'm gonna choose that you guys cry individually.
Actually, yes. Please separate me from
As
him.
Benched
separate
again.
time.
Benched again.
All right, guys. Cool. Thanks for the game. I'll be able to upload this one tonight. Yeah. Cool. All right,
That
guys.
sounds familiar.
I'm gonna do it tonight for real. For really real. All right, guys.
He didn't say that last time. To be quite fair, he really didn't.
I believe he said
Okay.
tomorrow last time.
He didn't say any time last time. He did not mention the recording at all. So
Nah,
Alright,
you know
guys.
what a good memory I have.
Have a
is,
good
you know.
night. Be well.
have a
Good
good night.
night.
Thanks for playing.
Good night.
See you in
Night.
2 weeks, you
Night,
little freak.
Cheetah. Good night, Cheetah.